knowing that their peaceful lives would never return. The three women sat in silence, their faces filled with sadness and exhaustion. Sensing the heavy mood, Ye Zhongming encouraged them, saying that as long as they stayed united and fought together, they still had hope of surviving the apocalypse. Ye Zhongming admitted that he had never been someone who enjoyed helping others. Saving the two of them was simply his way of building a trustworthy team, and he needed them to prove their worth with real ability. Then he took out a vial and said it was a gift that could give them the power of the future. Mo Ye and Liang Chuyin both stared in shock and unconsciously repeated those words. Holding the vial up, Ye Zhongming explained that it was an enhancement potion obtained from the roulette. It could improve the human body in many ways, including strength, speed, endurance, and metabolism. Once absorbed, the medicine would spread through the entire body, affect every cell, and provide a tremendous boost. Liang Chuyin curiously asked if it was like a superpower. Ye Zhongming corrected her, saying it was not that powerful, because this was only a low-grade enhancement potion. To make it easier to understand, he explained that it would raise a person's physical attributes by about 20 to 30 points, which was already enough to deal with ordinary zombies. Hearing that, Liang Chuyin sighed and said that with her weak foundation, such an increase probably would not make much difference. Ye Zhongming reassured her that the potion first awakened the body's hidden potential before adding even more power, so she should not underestimate herself. Mo Ye looked at him suspiciously and asked if the enhancement potion was the reason he had become so strong. He smiled and replied that otherwise, with his old body, he would never have calmly negotiated with a police officer like her. Mo Ye was still unconvinced. She pointed out that the potion could improve physical ability, but could not create combat experience or fighting skills. She questioned Ye Zhongming's true identity because he knew far too much about the apocalypse and fought even better than trained police officers. Liang Chuyin agreed, saying that from the first time they met, she had felt that Ye Zhongming seemed unusually familiar with a world full of zombies. The three of them then sat down in front of Ye Zhongming and continued the conversation. Mo Ye stared at him and asked if he knew the real cause of the apocalypse. Ye Zhongming gave a light cough to hide his awkwardness and said everything he knew had come from Mo Xinfei. If they wanted proof, they would have to find her. Deep down, he reminded himself that he could never reveal the secret of his rebirth. Liang Chuyin immediately believed him and guessed that Mo Xinfei must be someone extremely important. Seeing her reaction, Ye Zhongming could only smile bitterly at how easily she trusted people. Liang Chuyin then asked whether the enhancement potion had any side effects. Ye Zhongming honestly answered that users would suffer unbearable pain deep into their bones, while in rare cases their cells would rapidly break down, causing blood to pour from all 7 facial openings before they died. Hearing that it could be fatal, Liang Chuyin jumped to her feet in shock. Ye Zhongming calmly replied that anyone seeking power had to accept the risks, because greater rewards always came with greater danger. Holding up the 2 vials, he said he would force no one. Whether to use them or not was entirely their own choice. Both girls fell silent and spent a long time weighing this risky choice. In the end, Mo Ye stood up first, reached out without hesitation, and asked for the potion because she wanted to try it. Seeing her decision, Ye Zhongming smiled with satisfaction since everything was going just as he expected. Before handing over the potion, he warned Mo Ye that the enhancement would be far more painful than any normal person could endure, and advised her to wait until tomorrow. She agreed, but deep down she refused to stay a burden to the team. Even if it cost her life, she wanted to earn the strength to face the dangers ahead. After seeing Mo Ye make up her mind, Liang Chuyin gathered her courage and shyly asked to use the enhancement potion too. Ye Zhongming agreed, but told her to wait until tomorrow, get a full night's rest, and prepare her body in its best condition. Then he suddenly remembered one more thing. Before Liang Chuyin could ask, he reached over to fix her collar and reminded her to wear more practical clothes, because her current outfit was completely unsuitable for fighting. The unexpected gesture made her blush, and she quietly promised to remember his advice. Just then, Park Su-ah woke up and happened to see the two standing very close together. She immediately turned away and grumbled for them to keep their voices down because she still wanted to sleep. Ye Zhongming then told everyone to get some rest while he handled the night watch, since tomorrow's mission would be extremely important. After saying that, he quietly walked outside to continue keeping watch. He looked down at Di Huang lying quietly beside him. Before long, a lone figure silently emerged from the darkness. Reacting instantly, Ye Zhongming drew his weapon, aimed forward, and shouted a warning. His shout startled Liang Chuyin, making her cry out in panic. After realizing it was her, he frowned and asked why she was sneaking outside instead of sleeping. Liang Chuyan softly admitted that she was terrified. He asked if she had changed her mind about the enhancement potion. Without another word, she suddenly rushed forward and hugged him tightly. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she choked out that she had no regrets. She was only afraid that if something went wrong tomorrow, she might never see him again. Just thinking about that possibility was enough to keep her awake all night. Ye Zhongming gently patted her head and said he would give her one more chance to think it through. Liang Chuyin looked up with teary eyes and stared at him. In a calm voice, he said that gaining power did not always bring happiness. Once she became stronger, she would have to stay by his side and fight for the goals he pursued. Looking straight into her eyes, he asked if she truly wanted to walk that path with him. Wiping away her tears, Liang Chuyin nodded. She said she understood because even the life she had now was saved by Ye Zhongming. Smiling with determination, she promised that as long as he accepted her, she would always stand by his side and never let fear control her again. Right after that, Ye Zhongming looked behind him and spoke to the newcomer. It turned out Mo Ye had been quietly standing there for some time, without anyone noticing. She calmly asked what the group's next plan would be. Ye Zhongming replied that, if everything went according to plan, they would visit the hospital tomorrow, before heading straight to the Pearl Lake area south of the city. After hearing that, Mo Ye apologized because she would have to leave the group for a while, leaving Liang Chuyin surprised and asking why. Ye Zhongming felt sorry to lose someone with so much potential, but he still agreed. He promised to keep his word and give her the enhancement potion. Mo Ye told him not to worry because she only had a few personal matters to settle. Once everything was finished, she would definitely meet them at Pearl Lake. Before leaving, she handed Ye Zhongming several bullets and told him to keep them since they might come in handy. He happily accepted them and joked that even if she had not offered, he would have tracked her down to ask for those bullets anyway. The conversation ended, and everyone returned to rest. The camp gradually grew quiet as they wished each other good night and prepared for the busy journey ahead. The next morning, the entire group gathered together for the crucial turning point. Before drinking the potion, both girls wore expressions filled with hesitation and tension. Taking a deep breath, Liang Chuyin gathered all her courage and drank the entire enhancement potion. Park Su-ah wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes and decided to do the same. The two empty bottles dropped to the ground one after another and shattered with a sharp crack. Only seconds later, both girls collapsed to the floor, their faces twisted in agony as they coughed violently. Ye Zhongming crossed his arms and said he was heading back to the hospital. He told everyone to stay and rest. If Liang Chuyin and Park Su-ah recovered, they could hunt a few nearby zombies, but they must never fight a large group. If they spotted a white magic crystal zombie or any mutated creature, they had to retreat immediately. The two girls exchanged a glance in understanding, but Ye Zhongming still asked again to make sure everyone remembered his instructions. He then set off, and Di Huang immediately followed close behind. Liang Chuyin quickly called after him, telling him to stay safe. He simply replied with a quiet acknowledgement and kept walking. Before long, he returned to the hospital from the previous day. Standing on the rooftop and looking down, he quickly confirmed that his target was still exactly where he expected. Looking at the giant crocodile below, he recalled the rumors from his previous life about the three monsters guarding the hospital, each responsible for countless survivor deaths. According to his memories, a 6-star military expert later killed all three beasts and obtained a valuable map and a rare egg. Thinking about those rewards, he remembered that the map was actually a blueprint for forging a battle blade. Soon afterward, the military mass-produced incredibly sharp silver blades based on that design. Ye Zhongming smiled faintly. This time, both the blueprint and the egg would belong to him. He scanned the area and confirmed that he had already cleared out every zombie nearby, making any unexpected trouble unlikely. He then took out the necessary tools from his storage space and finished his final preparations. He recalled his last battle with the crocodile, when he was poorly prepared and armed with only a weak bow. Even his current gun was just grade equipment, and its firepower was still limited by ordinary weapon standards. Looking at his remaining bullets and the claw taken from the giant lizard, he decided to use them to upgrade his ammunition. Without hesitation, he activated his ability and began enchanting each bullet. Once the enhancement was complete, he was pleased to see that the ordinary bullets had become armor-piercing rounds, with far greater penetration and damage. He crushed the remaining material in his hand until it broke apart with a dry crack. Before making his move, he told Di Huang to stay on watch. If any stranger or zombie approached, he had to warn him immediately. The loyal dog barked once in understanding. With everything ready, Ye Zhongming gripped his blade tightly and jumped straight off the rooftop. At that moment, the crocodile was still fast asleep and completely unaware of the danger approaching. Only after hearing an unusual sound did it suddenly open its eyes and search for the source. The moment it spotted the fluttering red cloth, the monster's fury instantly erupted. It let out a savage roar and charged straight toward the target. Gathering all its strength, the giant crocodile launched itself forward at incredible speed. But that charge sent it directly into the trap Ye Zhongming had secretly prepared. The red cloth was pulled even higher, hanging in front of the beast and constantly drawing its attention. Meanwhile, Ye Zhongming remained hidden nearby, silently waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When the time was right, he raised his gun and took aim. From what he knew, this mutated crocodile became extremely aggressive whenever it saw the color red, and the rumor proved completely true. A gunshot rang out as the bullet struck its target, and his lure plan began working perfectly. The injury only drove the monster into a greater frenzy as it roared and charged directly at him. Its massive footsteps shook the ground, but Ye Zhongming had already dodged aside. Only then did he understand why the monster had sought him out during their last encounter. It unleashed one crushing stomp after another, forcing him to keep moving without pause. Facing the beast, Ye Zhongming tightened his grip on his blade and charged forward instead of retreating. His slashes tore through the air, one after another, keeping relentless pressure on his opponent. He carefully watched the powerful tail sweeping across the battlefield and realized his opportunity had arrived. At the decisive moment, he leaped high into the air. When he landed, he stood firmly on top of the crocodile's tail with flawless precision. Realizing someone was on its body, the monster immediately twisted its head around. Ye Zhongming seized the moment and charged straight ahead. His target was the monster's wide-open mouth. The sharp blade drove deep inside. He twisted the blade sideways, wedging it between the tongue and upper jaw so the crocodile could not close its mouth. With the beast pinned down, he quickly drew his gun. He aimed the barrel deep into its throat, ready to end the fight. A deafening shot rang out as the bullet tore through its throat, sending blood spraying everywhere. The massive crocodile crashed to the ground, while Ye Zhongming quickly jumped back to a safe distance. Looking at the motionless corpse, he smiled with satisfaction. He put his red coat back on and headed straight for the hidden nest. As soon as he arrived, he spotted a glowing sheet of paper among the loot. He immediately picked it up, unable to hide his excitement after finally finding what he wanted. Ye Zhongming carefully read every detail on the blueprint. After finishing, he was shocked to learn that the weapon's final form reached purple grade and possessed 2 skills, one active and one passive. During the early years of the apocalypse, equipment with skills like this was incredibly valuable. Looking at the illustration of the blade, he knew that the skills alone made it top tier. Now that it was also purple grade with 2 abilities, its value was nothing short of legendary. Even so, he could only grip the blueprint tightly because the required crafting materials were far beyond what he currently possessed. After thinking it over, he decided to focus only on completing the first stage of the blade for now. The later upgrades could wait, since his knowledge from his previous life gave him plenty of confidence. His attention then shifted to the nest of eggs. They were also priceless treasures that could greatly strengthen a person's body or accelerate a pet's evolution. He called Di Huang over for a meal, and the loyal dog rushed over barking excitedly. Ye Zhongming cooked the eggs and shared the valuable meal with Di Huang. As he ate, he could clearly feel his stamina and mental energy recovering at an incredible rate. After checking his condition, he realized his physical strength had doubled compared to when he first completed his 1-star enhancement. He called Di Huang over and told him to raise his head for a closer look. The obedient dog immediately looked up at his master. Ye Zhongming wanted to find out what special talent Di Huang possessed. He told the dog to demonstrate it, and instantly every strand of fur on Di Huang's body stood upright. In the blink of an eye, Di Huang's fur transformed into countless sharp needles and shot forward at astonishing speed, tearing through the air. Ye Zhongming stared at the wall, now covered with deep holes, and was amazed by the attack's power. It turned out Di Huang's innate talent was a skill called Shadow Golden Needles, and its destructive power exceeded all expectations. But when he looked back and saw Di Huang completely bald after using the skill, he was left speechless. He rubbed the dog's head and comforted him, saying it was not all bad. He might look miserable now, but the power was well worth the trade. Before leaving, he told Di Huang to finish off the leftovers, but never touch the 2 remaining eggs. The dog barked once in acknowledgement. After that, Ye Zhongming returned to the hospital. Holding his blade tightly, he slowly walked over to a nearby car. Resting his hand on the vehicle, he reminded himself that time was running out. His next priority was forging Feng Ji Yue. He closed his eyes and began channeling his special energy. Streams of energy gathered together and flowed into his hands. Without hesitation, he poured all that power into the blade. The materials taken from the flame turtle crocodile, including its claws, fangs, and a level 2 magic crystal, were added to the forging process. Moments later, a brilliant light burst forth and enveloped the forming blade. When the light faded, a completely new blade appeared before him, marking the successful completion of the forging process. Ye Zhongming immediately tested it with a slash against a nearby pillar. Seeing the perfectly smooth cut, he smiled with satisfaction, because its sharpness far exceeded his expectations. He quietly calculated that his remaining materials were enough to forge several more weapons for Liang Chuyin and Park Su-ah, greatly boosting their combat strength. He then gathered the eggs and returned to the parked vehicle. The moment he appeared, Liang Chuyin and Park Su-ah both stared at him with wide eyes. Liang Chuyin happily called out, asking if he had finally returned. Ye Zhongming asked how things went after Mo Ye left, and wanted to know what the two of them had accomplished. Liang Chuyin proudly showed off their loot. She said that after the enhancement, killing zombies was no longer difficult. One swing of her club was enough to knock them down, so she could not understand why Park Su-ah was still so scared. Park Su-ah pouted and said she had vomited until she was completely exhausted. Liang Chuyin laughed awkwardly and said the pain and nausea were normal the first time. Looking at the magic crystals they had collected, Ye Zhongming praised them. The loot was not much, but seeing them adapt to the apocalypse so quickly pleased him the most. He then took out the eggs and told both of them to eat. Liang Chuyin curiously asked what they were, and he explained that they were a special food that could further strengthen their bodies. Deep down, he vowed that he would claim that treasure at Pearl Lake, no matter what. He carefully stored the last remaining flame turtle crocodile egg behind the vehicle for safekeeping. After that, he turned back to the two girls. By then, both of them were happily eating without holding back. Park Su-ah casually tossed a piece of meat to Di Huang and laughed when she saw the dog had gone completely bald. Meanwhile, Liang Chuyin kept eating while worrying that she might gain weight. Feeling the changes in her body, Park Su-ah remarked that the meal had noticeably improved their physical abilities. After they nearly finished eating, Ye Zhongming called them over and said he had an interesting gift for them. Liang Chuyin immediately asked what it was. He took out a whip and held it out to her. The moment she saw the weapon, she froze in surprise. The whip was beautifully crafted. Ye Zhongming told her to test it first, and if it suited her, he would give it to her. She instantly fell in love with it and happily accepted the weapon. Without wasting a second, she walked into an open space to test it. Her eyes stayed fixed on the whip as both hands gripped the handle, feeling every detail. Focusing intently, she swung the whip again and again with clean and decisive movements. Every strike carried tremendous force and carved deep marks into the ground. After examining the weapon more closely, she said in amazement that it felt perfectly natural from the moment she picked it up, as if it had been made just for her. She excitedly looked at Ye Zhongming and said she had practiced whip techniques before, so this weapon would let her support him much better. Park Su-ah quietly watched while Ye Zhongming asked what kind of weapon she wanted for herself. She looked a little embarrassed and hesitantly asked if she could receive one too. Stroking Di Huang's head, she awkwardly admitted that she still had no idea what weapons suited her best. Ye Zhongming smiled and shook his head, telling her there was no need to decide now. Before the apocalypse, most people had only ever held kitchen knives and never imagined using real weapons. Liang Chuyin brushed her hair back and asked if Pearl Lake was their next destination. He nodded and said everything they had prepared was for this mission. He reminded them that the journey ahead meant facing countless mutated beasts and zombies, while also risking ambushes from other survivors. Then he asked if they still wanted to keep following him. Liang Chuyin agreed without hesitation, but Park Su-ah looked nervous. She quietly said that if she could still be useful, she would follow him to the end, but if she only became a burden. In the end, Ye Zhongming decided they would all travel together. Then he smiled and said he had only talked about the dangers, not the incredible rewards waiting if they succeeded. The vehicle sped down the deserted road, tearing through the silent landscape. As he drove, his thoughts slowly drifted back to memories of his previous life. Back then, he had been a timid man who only dared to leave home after running out of food. Every time he stepped outside his shelter, he kept his head low, trembling as he moved forward with extreme caution. Suddenly, an earth-shaking explosion echoed through the air, freezing him in fear. He quickly looked back, trying to find where the terrifying sound had come from. His entire body trembled as he slowly turned around. What he saw was a massive tide of zombies charging toward him like an endless sea. Zombies kept pouring out of the buildings, falling like a deadly rain. Terrified, he turned and ran, hiding in a secluded corner to stay alive. As he backed deeper into hiding, he had no idea what was happening. Strangely, the zombies ignored him completely and rushed toward the explosion and the beam of light instead, so he decided to return home and keep watching. After getting back, Ye Zhongming walked to the window and observed the situation outside. He was stunned to see a massive fire blazing after the devastating explosion. He had no idea what had happened there. Back in the present, he recalled that only much later did one of the few survivors reveal the truth about that day. It turned out there was a very special roulette hidden beneath Pearl Lake. Unlike ordinary roulettes, its surface displayed no rewards at all. It only showed a golden coin symbol, and activating it required one level 1 magic crystal. Once activated, the surrounding area became a special trial zone. The user would receive a mission and a preview of possible rewards, including evolution potions, silver-grade weapons, job scrolls, or mysterious formulas. Unfortunately, no one ever fully revealed how that battle ended. Even now, many mysteries remained unsolved. Every faction that took part in that battle had either been wiped out, vanished without a trace, or grown so powerful that the old Ye Zhongming could never have reached them. The vehicle suddenly slammed to a stop in front of a dense forest. Ye Zhongming opened the door and stepped out without hesitation. Pointing toward the forest, he said countless incredible treasures were hidden deep inside. According to him, obtaining those treasures would give them a real chance to become the strongest force in the entire city. 10 hours after the zombie outbreak began, the undead had already overrun every corner of the city. At that moment, an armed military unit had surrounded another group of survivors. The commander, Captain Yi, asked President Li if he had thought it over long enough, and whether he had finally made his decision. President Li calmly replied by asking if refusing meant all of his men would die right there. Staring at Captain Yi, he clenched his teeth. Even with 3 one-star revolvers and 11 guns, the odds were completely against him. He tightened his fists in frustration, regretting that, if the military had not blocked his path, a little more time could have changed everything. His gaze shifted to Wang Ning standing beside Captain Yi. The man's overwhelming presence made him believe Wang Ning had already reached 2-star evolution. Captain Yi bluntly declared that, if they refused to cooperate with this mission, the military would eliminate anything that threatened the operation. Hearing those words, everyone behind President Li was filled with anger. One of his subordinates stepped forward and suggested fighting the military, even if it meant dying. However, Captain Yi calmly said that joining them would not be a loss. On the contrary, the rewards would be extremely valuable. Pointing at his military uniform, he said that even if they did not trust him, they should at least trust the honor of the military. Wang Ning also persuaded President Li, saying that after this mission he might gain power just like his, and missing such a chance would be a huge regret. After a long silence, President Li sighed and finally accepted the offer to cooperate. Wang Ning immediately shook his hand with enthusiasms, introduced himself, and said he hoped they could work together for a long time. President Li then looked at Captain Yi and asked what the true objective of this mission was. Captain Yi only smiled mysteriously before quietly revealing that they had received highly classified intelligence. According to that information, an extraordinary monster was about to appear at Pearl Lake, and every major faction wanted to claim it. Fortunately, the military had already stationed troops near the area. Just then, an urgent report came through the radio saying the critical moment had arrived. Captain Yi immediately ordered everyone to move out and protect the roulette at all costs. Through the binoculars, the mysterious roulette finally came into view. Sitting on top of the vehicle, Ye Zhongming surveyed the entire area and quietly remarked that it looked like all the major factions had nearly arrived. He jumped down from the vehicle and loudly asked if everyone was ready for the battle ahead. He instructed Liang Chuyin to keep monitoring the radio. Once the operation began, she had to move to the hiding spot immediately, and if she saw a yellow monster about 1 meter tall, she was to report it to him at once. He then assigned Park Su-ah to stay at the observation point, keep reporting the battlefield, and never lose sight of the small monster. Finally, he pointed toward a tall building near the bank and said he would personally set up an ambush there. He carefully reminded her that the moment she spotted the little monster's movement, she had to contact him immediately. He and Liang Chuyin would head straight to her location. He also stressed that her position was the safest, but if things became too dangerous, she should retreat first, find another high vantage point, and continue tracking both the monster and the battlefield. She nodded firmly and confirmed that she understood her mission. She then pointed to another nearby building and asked if it would make a suitable observation post. Shielding his eyes from the sunlight, he examined it carefully before nodding and telling her to wait there for him and Liang Chuyin. As he drew his sharp blade, he reminded her once again to contact him the instant she found the target. Before leaving, he warned them that the creature was not physically powerful, but was extremely cunning and could summon large numbers of mutated creatures, so no one was allowed to act alone. Just then, a brilliant pillar of light suddenly erupted not far away. Ye Zhongming immediately shouted that the roulette had been activated and the target monster was about to appear, ordering everyone to move out. A blinding beam of light then shot straight down into the lake. Qin Xiaoba's eyes widened as he stammered in confusion, unable to understand what had just happened. But when he finally saw the creature before him, he froze in shock. It was the monster everyone had been talking about. Sitting calmly atop the ancient roulette was a bizarre creature. Its relaxed posture in such a terrifying scene sent chills down everyone's spine. Suddenly, the monster pulled out a horn and blew into it with all its strength. Qin Xiaoba stood there in complete disbelief as he watched the bizarre scene unfold. The horn echoed across the area, and moments later, countless zombies flooded in from every direction like a tidal wave. The military immediately put all heavy weapons on full alert as every soldier stood ready with determined expressions. Captain Yi continued observing the battlefield through his binoculars. Just then, a soldier hurried over with an urgent report. Captain Yi calmly asked for the update. The soldier immediately reported that Li Shujun's unit at the 2 o'clock position, Hu Dahai's unit at 10 o'clock, and the teams at 5 and 7 o'clock had all secured their assigned positions. However, the soldier's expression quickly turned grim. He added that Qin Xiaoba's team at the 12 o'clock position had completely lost contact. Several unknown factions with dozens to hundreds of members had also appeared, while large groups of mutated creatures were rapidly approaching from the Jianyin Building, Santong Street, Nan Wuwei Road, and the Liangliang supermarket area. Captain Yi asked if there was anything else. Under the pressure, the trembling soldier lowered his head and reported that their entire formation had been surrounded by zombie hordes. After hearing the report, Captain Yi simply smiled faintly. He tossed aside his binoculars and calmly said they had been surrounded by zombies from the moment they entered the city. He then raised his voice and called for every soldier to listen carefully. He ordered everyone to focus their full attention on him. With an icy expression, he said he might be leading them all to the place where they would die. The ruined city stretched before them, with danger lurking in every direction. Mutated creatures were closing in from all sides. If they failed to retreat now, the entire force could be wiped out. His words struck every soldier. He knew many were worried about their families, uncertain about the future, and questioning why they still wore the military uniform. His voice softened as he admitted he was no different. He did not know whether his parents back home were still alive, nor did he know what had become of his wife and children. But the next moment, he raised his voice and asked if that was really a reason to surrender or abandon their beliefs. Every eye turned toward him. He declared that they were soldiers, born to fight, and this was war. If they wanted to survive, they had to become stronger than their enemies, and stronger than this brutal era itself. His presence grew even more imposing, as he declared that if they had to die, they would fall wearing their uniforms with the last pride of this world. He then shouted their battle cry, and every soldier roared back in unison, "Glory belongs to us." Countless arms shot into the air, showing their resolve to fight until the very end. From a high window, Ye Zhongming silently watched everything unfold. A look of admiration crossed his face. A force with such unwavering spirit would be almost impossible to find in the later days of the apocalypse, and the sight genuinely moved him. Just then, a thunderous rumble echoed through the area, making him look down. A column of tanks rolled forward one after another. At this stage, the soldier's fighting spirit was still burning brightly. He looked into the distance, trying to see what was happening on the other side. Suddenly, countless bolts of lightning burst out from deep within the forest. Qin Xiaoba widened his eyes in shock, realizing the final spatial tunnel had finally opened. Looking closer, he discovered the little monster was using its horn to open the portal. The lightning quickly gathered into a massive vortex. The horn could not only summon zombies and evolved creatures, but also awaken terrifying beasts sleeping beneath the earth. The first thing to emerge was a sharp tail, followed by a pair of glowing green eyes. One terrifying beast after another then marched out of the tunnel. One of them suddenly charged straight at Qin Xiaoba. He could only let out terrified screams. The savage monster opened its enormous jaws, ready to swallow him whole. A heavy impact shook the ground as the giant creature landed. It was a terror ram, an extremely dangerous level 2 monster. Heavy footsteps echoed non-stop throughout the battlefield. Meanwhile, Ye Zhongming rushed up the stairwell as fast as he could. He kicked the door open with a powerful strike. The moment he stepped outside, he immediately saw a spatial gate opening before him. Endless waves of monsters poured out like a broken flood. His expression instantly changed when he spotted the purple cloud battle ants. Even though they were only level 1 monsters, there were well over 100 of them. He could not help wondering what level of forbidden zone the monster had connected to for so many terrifying creatures to appear. Memories from his previous life surfaced. When the apocalypse began, not only did the roulettes descend from the sky, but countless forbidden zones also appeared beneath golden pillars of holy light. From that moment on, the world fell into complete chaos. Alien creatures, monsters, and countless horrifying beings emerged one after another, pushing humanity into despair. Even so, danger always came with opportunity. Those forbidden zones also hid countless spiritual herbs, rare minerals, and priceless treasures. He quickly scanned the surroundings, trying to grasp the entire situation. Just then, a gigantic arm suddenly reached out from inside the spatial gate. The shocking sight left him staring in disbelief. The creature that emerged was actually a corpse ape. This was completely unexpected because it was not a monster at all, but a terrifying level 3 zombie. Ye Zhongming was stunned. The apocalypse had barely begun, yet a level 3 zombie had already appeared. It was beyond anything he knew. The corpse ape possessed overwhelming strength, crushing every obstacle in its path with ease. He suddenly remembered hearing that, in his previous life, the fastest person to reach level 3 had needed nearly 3 weeks, yet this monster had already achieved that level. The moment it appeared, the people below panicked and scattered in every direction to save themselves. Only President Li remained where he stood without taking a single step back. One unlucky survivor was seized by the corpse ape and lifted into the air. He cried desperately for help. The monster slowly raised its victim toward its enormous mouth, preparing to devour him alive. Agonized screams echoed across the battlefield. Witnessing the bloody scene, Fa nearly threw up on the spot. Just then, Ye Zhongming's voice came through the radio, ordering her to report the treasure monster's location immediately. She replied that it was still casually walking along the lakeshore. He immediately asked where the terror ram was. She urgently reported that the beast was hiding behind the credit company building, to his left. As he rushed toward the next building, he ordered her to keep tracking the terror ram, monitor the entire battlefield, and report anything unusual immediately. Right after that, he called Liang Chuyin and told her to move to his position as quickly as possible. Without slowing down, he leaped onto another building. A series of perfect jumps carried him across the rooftops at incredible speed. Over the radio, Park Su-ah reported that she had spotted the treasure monster. It was riding on the back of a purple cloud battle ant and casually circling Pearl Lake. Standing at the edge of the rooftop, he immediately asked if the spatial portal had disappeared. While keeping an eye on the terror ram, Park Su-ah replied that the portal was still open. As he landed on the ground, Ye Zhongming frowned in thought. In his previous life, the treasure monster could only use the horn once, before the portal to the forbidden zone closed. This time, everything was different, leaving him even more confused. By now, the entire area was swarming with zombies. He calmly drew his weapon and prepared for battle. As he pushed forward, his blade flashed non-stop, cutting down zombie after zombie, while black blood splattered everywhere. The moment one zombie fell, he immediately crouched to inspect it. He quickly removed the magic crystal from its head. It was not worth much, but he had no intention of wasting it. Suddenly, desperate cries for help echoed from the distance. Turning around, he saw a group of survivors being chased by the terror ram, all of them running for their lives. The beast's crimson eyes burned with murderous intent, eager to tear apart everything in its path. Tightening his grip on the blade, Ye Zhongming studied his target. Although the terror ram was one level stronger than him, it was actually the easiest monster to deal with among Today's enemies. With that thought, he burst forward at full speed. Besides, the terror ram carried a precious material called Yang Treasure inside its body, and he had to claim it. The sudden attack caught the monster completely off guard. He kicked off the ground with all his strength and launched himself into the air. In the blink of an eye, he landed on the terror ram's back, before it even realized what had happened. Without hesitation, he drove his blade deep into its body, ripping open a massive wound. His eyes turned ice cold, filled with nothing but determination and killing intent. One hand gripped the sword tightly, while the other held onto the beast's horn to keep his balance. The survivors who had barely escaped could only huddle together and stare at him, in shock and fear. One of them stammered that they were both only one-star revolvers, yet the gap in combat power was unbelievable. The terror ram let out a deafening roar as its fury exploded. It leaped and thrashed wildly, trying to throw Ye Zhongming off its back. He coldly muttered a few words before driving his blade in even deeper. Throw him off? Not a chance. Green blood instantly sprayed from the deep wound. The monster's eyes burned bright red as it roared in unbearable pain. The people below were left speechless. None of them had even scratched its armor, yet this young man's blade pierced through it like butter. The beast became even more frenzied, jumping and struggling without pause. Clinging tightly to its back, Ye Zhongming gathered every ounce of strength and stabbed it once more. A thunderous crash echoed out as the monster slammed headfirst into a wall as hard as steel. Flying debris filled the air, making Ye Zhongming frown. This monster was not only powerful, but also surprisingly clever. It rampaged through everything in its path, charging wildly from place to place. Its claws dug into the ground for momentum, while white mist continuously poured from its mouth. Ye Zhongming held on so tightly that his face turned purple from exhaustion. The monster suddenly snorted and twisted its head to look behind it. Covered in blood, Ye Zhongming sneered. You really want to throw me off? Fine, I'll jump off myself. His blade ripped another long gash across its body, drawing another agonized roar. He then pushed off and landed on the ground by his own choice. The moment he looked up, a gigantic claw was already crashing down toward him. The stomp struck as fast as lightning, but he slipped aside at the very last second. He skidded across the ground, building momentum for his next move. His eyes blazed with killing intent as he charged straight at the monster. The blade pierced its body once again, sinking deep with unwavering resolve. Without hesitation, he pulled the blade free and used the momentum to leap high into the air. In an instant, he reached the same height as the monster's eyes. His hand lightly brushed across the cold, gleaming blade. As he swept past its neck, he slashed cleanly across its throat. Blood continued flowing from the corner of his mouth, yet he still smiled. He was determined to see this battle through. The final strike had landed, and the monster began losing its balance. Its enormous body crashed to the ground with a deafening impact. Ye Zhongming let out a tired breath and slowly walked toward it. Covered in wounds himself, he looked down at the beast's corpse. At last, this terrifying monster was dead. He then turned to look at the group of survivors standing in the distance. Everyone kept watching with curious looks. They could not believe their eyes. How did he actually bring it down? Zhongming replied coldly, If you chose to run before, then do not bother coming back now. As he spoke, he waved them away. They were not welcome here. Even so, they refused to leave. They loudly claimed they had fought the monster too, so they deserved half the credit. Zhongming sneered. Your only achievement was getting wiped out, or failing to leave even a scratch on its hide. Their pride took a hit. The group immediately turned hostile, relied on their numbers, and claimed everyone should stick together to survive. Hearing that, his anger flared. He only shouted one cold word, get lost. Then he stood in front of the monster's corpse. The group exchanged sinister smiles, as if they had already agreed on something. One man raised a club and warned him not to reject kindness. If he refused to move, he would not leave alive today. Another man pretended to be reasonable. He said young people should think before acting, instead of making reckless choices. He rubbed his aching arm. Seeing that, the man became even more smug. Look at you. One useless arm, and you still think you can fight us. Walk away while you still can. Another pointed at the man with the club and warned that he had killed someone yesterday. In this world, only the strong had a voice, and no one cared about murder anymore. Just as the tension peaked, the radio suddenly crackled. Tu Ying urgently reported that a massive zombie horde was heading straight for Zhongming. He tilted his head and listened closely. Tu Ying added that a monster carrying a yellow bag was riding a purple cloud battle ant into a fruit shop. She also reported that another survivor group was heading there. Zhongming simply answered that he understood. He immediately remembered the mysterious bag on the monster's back at Lunpan. That was the real target today, and he could not let anyone else take it. He returned to the Kong Yang corpse, quickly collected the Yang treasure, and prepared to leave. The man with the club still refused to back off. He declared that Zhongming could leave, but had to hand over every knife, the radio, and anything valuable. Zhongming only laughed. Their greed truly had no limit. Feeling insulted, the man charged first. His eyes burned with cruelty. Since the apocalypse began, he believed every old rule had vanished. He remembered the old neighbor who used to make him furious. Back then, he did nothing, but now he believed the man would never dare talk back. He also thought about the woman beside him. She once demanded a divorce, but now she could only obey whatever he wanted. Every cruel thing he had done became a trophy. He even broke the leg of a rival leader's son, forcing the man to kneel and beg for mercy. Thinking of that, he raised his club and rushed forward. To him, the new world had only one rule: the strong survived. But all he got in return was a cold blade cutting through the air. The club hit the ground, followed by his severed hand. His face turned pale as he let out a horrifying scream. Zhongming looked down at him and calmly said that the apocalypse had one simple rule: if you wanted to kill someone, you had to be ready to be killed yourself. Clutching his wound, he gritted his teeth. You actually dared to do this to me? Before he could finish, a powerful kick sent him flying. His body slammed into the two men behind him, knocking all three to the ground. Painful screams instantly echoed everywhere. Some clutched their legs, others held their arms, all crying in agony. Zhongming calmly cut open the Kongyang corpse and quietly said they would never need to remember that rule again because their lives ended today. After collecting everything he needed, he walked away without looking back. Not long after, nearby zombie hordes rushed in. The three men could only scream for help in despair. At that moment, loud gunfire erupted from inside the ruined building. The non-stop shots signaled a fierce firefight. Wave after wave of bullet-ridden rats collapsed across the ground. Changze looked at Xiao Ye in confusion and asked why she had been so distracted ever since coming back. It was nothing. The mutant rats still gave her chills. She turned to Ha Lei and asked if she was hurt. Ha Lei smiled and said she was fine, but she was worried about her husband. Changze quickly reassured everyone. Xiao Qin's team belonged to the government. This area had just been secured, so there were few residents, not many zombies, and their armored vehicle was always nearby for support. After that, he looked at Mo Ye in confusion and asked why she kept insisting on leaving their team. Hearing that, Ye Zhongming suddenly came to her mind, leaving her unsure how to answer. Just then, Chenglong rushed to the window and shouted for everyone to stay alert because the gunfire had attracted a monster. Everyone immediately rushed over to check outside. A gigantic corpse ape appeared before them. It let out a furious roar and suddenly leaped high into the air. Inside the building, the soldiers kept firing at the monster. Shouts echoed everywhere. They yelled that the corpse ape must not get close, ordered non-stop fire, and called for someone with a rocket launcher because normal bullets could not bring it down. If it broke through, everyone would die. Changze loudly called for Mo Yi to help. At that moment, Ha Lei screamed that something was coming from the 3 o'clock direction. The group quickly worked together and wiped out the mutant rats closing in. Under the heavy gunfire, the rats dropped one after another. Mo Ye spotted a zombie sneaking up behind Changze and immediately rushed over to shove him away. She saved him, but a zombie claw slashed a long wound across her arm. Changze turned pale and shouted her name. As he yelled, he emptied his gun into the zombie while cursing nonstop. After the danger was gone, he grabbed Mo Ye's injured arm and scolded her for being too reckless. She calmly assured him that she would not be infected. Changze did not believe her at all. He thought she was only saying that to calm everyone down. Ha Lei immediately drew a knife and told Mo Ye to hold out her arm so they could cut it off. Losing one arm was better than becoming a zombie. Mo Ye quickly stepped back and kept insisting she was fine, while Ha Lei urged Changze to hold her still. She pulled her arm free and loudly explained that she had taken an evolution potion, so she could not be infected. Changze looked even more confused. He asked what an evolution potion was. Without another word, Mo Ye activated her power and told everyone to watch carefully. She threw a punch, instantly blasting a huge hole through the solid brick wall. She confidently said she had become an evolver and had also taken an evolution potion, so there was no need to worry about infection. The whole group was left speechless. Before anyone could recover, she picked up her gun and reminded everyone to stay focused because the monster was charging straight at them. The corpse ape roared and rushed forward at full speed. Everyone immediately shouted for Mo Ye to be careful. Countless bullets slammed into its body, but barely did any damage, as if they were only scratching an itch. Mo Ye calmly pulled the trigger and fired straight at the monster's face. The bullet pierced its eye, making the corpse ape scream in agony. Even Mo Ye froze, because she never expected the shot to work so well. She immediately thought of Ye Zhongming, because every special round in that gun had come from him. Writhing in pain, the corpse ape bent down and roughly lifted an entire car. Then, it hurled the car toward the building, where everyone was holding out. Mo Ye immediately shouted for everyone to get down. A thunderous explosion erupted as the car smashed through the wall and crashed into the building. Elsewhere, Ye Zhongming calmly walked down the street while contacting Liang Chuyin to ask where she was. When she replied that a group of fools had blocked her way, he could only sigh. Zhongming asked if she could handle it herself. Liang Chuyin confidently said it was no problem, though she might arrive at the meeting point later than planned. He told her to put safety first. If things got out of control, she should retreat immediately and regroup with Park. Suddenly noticing something unusual in the sky, he looked up. In the direction he was watching, cars had been thrown everywhere, while the corpse ape roared like mad. It looked badly wounded, which explained its frenzy. Zhongming quickly judged that the monster would not recover anytime soon. That also made him wish his team had a skilled doctor. He knew all too well that in the apocalypse, many survivors did not die in battle. They died because their wounds could not be treated. Medicine was even rarer than food, making doctors the most valuable people around. Having a healer on the team was like carrying an extra layer of insurance. Looking toward the alley ahead, he realized that a little farther on would lead to Pearl Lake. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Liang Chuyin was being blocked by a group of men. Every one of them wore a filthy grin. They pretended to be kind and claimed the road ahead was too dangerous, urging her to stay with them instead. She showed no fear. She broke free from their circle and prepared to fight. The leader smiled as he calculated his next move. Earlier, Ye Zhongming had given him weapons, an evolution potion, and even assigned people to support him. Even so, Zhongming had taken a card from the Lun Pan before leaving. The man was sure it was extremely valuable, even if he did not know what it did. His gaze shifted to Liang Chuyin. In his eyes, Ye Zhongming treated him like a disposable pawn, while the woman before him was the one truly worth watching. She had shown the strength of an evolver, carried a strange weapon, and had just contacted someone through a radio. He stared at her greedily. Everything suggested she belonged to a powerful faction. If someone this strong was not even the leader, then someone far more terrifying had to be behind her. He calmly made an offer. If she insisted on leaving, then she had to reveal how to become an evolver and where that strange weapon came from. Knowing the secret to becoming stronger was enough. Liang Chuyin calmly replied that she had once lived in despair, like a lonely prey surrounded by predators, never knowing when she would be devoured. But after the world collapsed, everyone who had bullied her became zombies. Even though she could die at any moment, she had never felt more free. The man only stared at her in confusion. He had no idea what she meant. Without hesitation, Liang Chuyin cracked her whip. She said she had met a man who gave her the chance to survive the apocalypse. He was strict, but everything he did was to help her grow stronger. He taught her how to survive and become powerful. For the first time in years, she finally knew what it felt like to trust someone. Determination filled her eyes. That man needed her help right now, and the situation was dangerous. Yet these people still dared to block her path. As soon as she finished speaking, she lashed her whip and charged forward. Move aside or prepare to die. At the same time, inside a shop deep in the city, Ye Zhongming remained hidden in the shadows, quietly watching every movement. Tank after tank rolled into the area, led by Regiment Commander Yi. Beyond the gateway, waves of vicious monsters poured out like a flood. Regiment Commander Yi immediately gave the order. He swung his arm forward and shouted, "All units attack! Open fire!" The moment the command was given, the soldiers unleashed a storm of bullets at the monsters. Under the relentless barrage, monster after monster was riddled with bullets and collapsed. The front line kept pushing forward with unstoppable momentum. Seeing the advantage, they shouted for everyone to advance, while urging the troops behind them to catch up. Watching from the rear, Ye Zhongming quietly shook his head. If they thought this battle would be that easy, they were being far too careless. Gunfire continued to roar as monster blood sprayed across the battlefield. The strange blood quickly splashed all over the soldiers. It was an extremely corrosive liquid. Metal weapons began to melt the moment they were stained, while the soldiers screamed in agony as their hands and eyes were badly burned. Zhongming hesitated for a moment, wondering if he should reveal himself and help them. Meanwhile, Regiment Commander Yi stood motionless, calmly observing the entire battle. Seeing his cold reaction, Zhongming could not hide his frustration. In the end, he stopped hesitating and rushed out without another thought. In an instant, he flashed right past Regiment Commander Yi. The commander merely snorted and made no attempt to stop him. Just then, A few small stones dropped into the water, making Zhongming stop and carefully scan the area. His eyes searched non-stop for the candy room that Park had mentioned, while also tracking down the monster's treasure. At last, his gaze settled on a small house completely surrounded by countless monsters. That was most likely where his target was. After locking onto the direction, he immediately sprinted forward. But before he got far, the familiar horn suddenly echoed again. Zhongming's face changed at once. The treasure monster's horn had sounded for the second time. His instincts warned him that something far more terrifying was about to appear. He immediately looked ahead, where massive waves of spiritual energy were spreading outward. Brilliant flashes crossed the sky like lightning, mixed with countless mysterious sparks. A gigantic foot slowly stepped out of the gateway. Its mere appearance created overwhelming pressure. The creature gradually revealed its full body. It had powerful muscular legs, but countless iron chains were tightly wrapped around it. A massive sharp horn rose from its head as if it could pierce the heavens. From head to toe, its body was covered in spiked chains, giving it a savage and terrifying appearance. Zhongming could not hide his shock. The creature before him was the chain convict, the monster that broke its seal not long after the apocalypse began. He stared at the glowing blue magic crystal on its head. It proved the creature had already reached level 4. According to his memories, it would soon evolve to level 5, then level 6, and finally level 7. Within a year, it would become one of the world's first level 9 monsters. At that time, humanity still had no 9-star powerhouse capable of fighting it. It never hunted a specific target. It simply wandered everywhere, crushing everything in its path. Even the last survivor stronghold had once been flattened by it. Later, after humanity produced 9-star powerhouses and fully understood how dangerous it was, the 3 strongest experts finally joined forces to kill it. Thinking about that, Zhongming suddenly remembered Mo Xingfei. That bloody battle was what made the Rose Assassin famous. Although he was only a 1-star evolver, the improved evolution divine potion and the Flame Lord crocodile meat had pushed his true combat strength far beyond ordinary 1-star evolvers. With the advantage of his current profession and his knowledge of future disasters, he was confident that killing a level 2 monster would not be difficult. One swing of his sword split the purple pattern battle ant in half. With his current strength, even a level 4 creature was no longer impossible to fight. The monster collapsed onto the ground as its breathing grew weaker. Zhongming immediately dropped to one knee beside it. Without hesitation, he stored the freshly collected pincer in his backpack while staying fully alert. Looking toward the chained monster, he silently made his plan. His top priority was still capturing the treasure monster alive and taking the bag on its back. At the perfect moment, he unleashed a powerful kick that blasted the iron door wide open. The sight inside left him stunned. Corpses were scattered everywhere among the ruins. He immediately reported through the radio that he had found the candy shop, but the treasure monster was nowhere to be seen. The only reply was endless static. Worry spread across his face. Both Fa Xiu and Liang Chuxin had lost contact. Had something gone wrong? Suddenly, he sensed something and instantly turned toward the source of the noise. At the back entrance across from him, chaos had broken out as a group of people poured out non-stop gunfire. Chang Chun gripped his radio and shouted for help. He reported to Commander Yi that they had found the monster carrying the yellow bag. It had even thrown an evolution potion toward them. The bag was clearly filled with priceless treasures. Meanwhile, bullets continued raining onto the monster's body. Within seconds, its entire body was riddled with bullet holes. Seeing the monster wounded, the commander immediately ordered everyone to chase it and knock it off the ant's back. At the same moment, Zhongming shot past the crowd at incredible speed while they were still firing. As soon as they noticed him, they shouted for him to stop. With no other choice, he fought his way through. In just a few clean strikes, everyone blocking his path was taken down. Seeing his allies defeated, another man immediately took advantage of an opening and launched a sneak attack. At that moment, Chang Chun also aimed his rifle directly at Zhongming with a wary expression. Zhongming instantly closed the distance and drove a powerful punch into the man's stomach without the slightest hesitation. The blow sent Chang Chun stumbling to the ground, and his rifle flew out of his hands. Seizing the opportunity, Zhongming quickly picked up the fallen rifle. After inspecting the rifle, Zhongming recognized it as standard military gear. Commander Yi had clearly invested heavily in this operation. Without another thought, he pushed through the chaotic crowd and rushed deeper inside. News about the treasure monster would soon spread across the battlefield. If he wanted that yellow bag, he had to move before anyone else arrived. Meanwhile, an injured man lying on the ground trembled as he reached into his coat for his damaged radio. Blood still poured from his mouth, but he forced himself to report to Commander Yi that the target was here. If they were too slow, someone else would steal it. Zhongming dashed across the uneven rocks before suddenly stopping. The treasure monster had vanished without a trace. As he searched the area, low growls suddenly came from behind him, making him spin around. Hidden beneath a narrow rock crevice, the treasure monster was curled up, badly wounded. Zhongming immediately rushed toward it, relieved that he had finally found his target. Looking closer, he frowned. It had taken countless bullets earlier, yet its wounds were healing at an unbelievable speed. Just then, he felt a cold gaze fixed on him from another monster. The creature let out strange cries and aggressively pointed toward Zhongming, as if ordering an attack. The purple cloud battle ant instantly charged at him so fast that only its after image remained. Zhongming barely dodged in time. Only then did he realize this was no ordinary ant, but a level 2 ant general. He immediately drew his weapon. From what he knew, normal purple cloud battle ants were only level 1, but their colony also had stronger variants, like the level 2 ant general, the level 3 ant king, and the ant queen, who had likely reached level 4 or even beyond. Seeing its attack fail, the ant opened its jaws and spat out a stream of dark green venom. Zhongming narrowly avoided the toxic spray, but his expression turned far more serious. Wave after wave of poison followed without pause. This monster clearly knew how to combine its attacks with deadly precision. At that moment, a pair of thin wings unfolded from its sides as it prepared to take flight. Zhongming tightened his grip on his blade and shouted, trying to fly away? Not happening. The moment he finished speaking, he burst forward at full speed. One clean slash cut through the air, and the ant's wings were instantly severed. The shattered wings scattered through the air, while the monster spewed body fluid in agony. Without giving it a chance to recover, Zhongming jumped onto its back. He drove his blade deep into the monster's body. As he pulled the blade free, a jade-like glowing object came out along with the green fluid. After collecting the loot, he calmly walked toward the remaining monster. Watching its companion die, the other monster backed away in fear. It searched desperately for an escape route, but huge rocks blocked every path. Zhongming smiled confidently. Once he dealt with this one, the yellow bag would be his. Even while retreating, the monster seemed to be secretly preparing a counterattack. Suddenly, it threw something at him. At first he thought it was another attack, but it turned out to be a scroll. Zhongming caught it and saw the words Beginner Shadow Art written on it. After opening it, he immediately recognized it as a summoning skill scroll, one of the most common items in the apocalypse. He crushed the scroll to absorb it, and could not help admiring the treasure. Seeing his reaction, the monster holding another scroll suddenly looked confused. It quickly tossed another scroll toward Zhongming. He caught it with ease, his expression still completely calm. The moment he read it, he froze. It was a class upgrade scroll, something he had paid for with countless sacrifices in his previous life. Yet now it was being thrown at him like it was worthless. Zhongming burst into laughter. The more he looked at this monster, the more he liked it. If you have anything else, hand it over now, or do not blame me for what happens next. Hearing that, the monster hurriedly threw another item. He caught it and checked it. It was only a 1-star evolution potion, nothing too special. Another item came flying over right after that. This time, it was a profession certificate. He opened it and received the gardener profession, leaving even him completely stunned. Meanwhile, Ye raised her rifle and aimed directly at the monster. Seeing that, someone asked in shock what kind of gun she was using that could actually hurt a monster. Xiaolei and the other two stepped closer, studied the weapon, and realized this gun was far from ordinary. Zheng Se immediately questioned whether the commander and Ye wanted to leave because of this special weapon. Ye recalled how she once believed evolution serum, weapons, and ammo were rewards she truly deserved. But now she realized her contributions were nowhere near enough to earn something this valuable. She quietly said the world held countless wonders, far beyond human imagination. Meanwhile, the beast kept rampaging through the streets, tossing cars aside with ease. Ye stayed locked on her target and said she would explain everything when the time was right. A bullet screamed through the air and flew straight at the target. The shot pierced the beast's knee joint with perfect accuracy and left a massive wound. The impact burned everything in its path, exposing most of the kneecap. The monster looked down at the wound and clenched its teeth in rage. It threw back its head and roared at Ye, shaking the entire area. The whole team shouted at once, "It is injured. Aim for its knees. Once its legs fail, it cannot move fast. Keep firing." The man adjusted his glasses and asked who fired that shot, then ordered the shooter to join Director Lias' team. Everyone quickly stepped aside, but Ye acted as if she heard nothing. She suddenly took command and ordered everyone to focus fire on the monster's right knee. The team immediately followed her orders and supported her attack. The man angrily shouted that it was an order and demanded she obey. Mo Yi ignored him completely and kept waiting for the perfect chance to land another fatal shot. Just then, someone reached out to stop her, suspecting the rifle was hiding a secret. Before he could finish speaking, he took a crushing punch to the ribs. He staggered back, clutching his chest, and demanded to know why she refused to let him inspect the rifle. Was she hiding something inside? Mo Yi coldly replied that she was saving everyone's lives and told him to stay away from her. He kept arguing, but Mo Yi warned that if he bothered her again, she would kill him. Her words left everyone speechless. Trembling, he pointed at her and threatened that disobeying orders would bring severe punishment. A bullet suddenly grazed past him and buried itself in the wall behind, leaving him drenched in cold sweat. Mo Ye simply stared at him with icy eyes. Her teammates froze in shock, while the man screamed that she had just fired at him. Mo Ye calmly answered that if he did not leave now, the next bullet would not miss. Within seconds, he turned around and ran for his life. Her teammates worried that she had gone too far and said she would never be able to stay in the unit after this. Mo Ye calmly replied that apart from her comrades, nothing here was worth staying for anymore. Cheng Zhe sternly scolded her, unable to understand why she would say such things. Mo Yi looked at her teacher and said this place was nothing like he imagined. She asked if he knew what everyone was risking their lives for, and what they would receive in the end. Cheng Zhe asked what exactly she had discussed with the commander after returning yesterday. Mo Yi revealed that she had overheard a call between the commander and Captain Yi. That was when she learned their squad had been used as bait, so Captain Ye's team could seize a treasure worth far more than this rifle and its ammo. In return, her squad faced almost certain death while gaining nothing, while the commander had already prepared evolution serum for himself and his family before moving into the military shelter. Everyone immediately asked if what she said was really true. Mo Yi replied that anyone who survived would see the commander and his family become evolvers with their own eyes. Meanwhile, Zhongming looked at his hand and realized he had gained a second class as a gardener. In his opinion, it was similar to the Glory Archer class because both had multiple class skills. The difference was that gardener focused on cultivation instead of combat, with only two core abilities, cultivation and activation. The cultivation skill lived up to its name, allowing plants to grow from seeds all the way to full maturity. With the class bonus, plant growth, farming efficiency, and overall development increased dramatically. There was even a chance for special mutations. The activation skill allowed him to control plants in unusual ways, making it the gardener's signature ability. In his previous life, Zhongming had seen a parasol tree evolve into an unimaginable existence. Even 9-star human elites, overlord beasts, and mutant kings never dared enter the territory of that world tree. Thinking about it, he clenched his fists. Even without terrifying mutated plants, simply growing food and vegetables would be priceless, because in the apocalypse they were worth as much as gold. He walked up to the beast and coldly asked if it was hiding anything else. The monster immediately trembled in fear, making Zhongming curl his lips into a faint smile. In the next instant, he gathered all his strength and charged with a powerful strike. Zhongming's eyes turned icy as he prepared to end the battle with this attack. But at that exact moment, his danger sense suddenly flared, and his expression changed. A deadly attack shot in from far away. Luckily, he reacted just in time and dodged aside. The strike shattered the boulder beside him with a deafening explosion. Watching the dust rise, Zhongming instantly realized the enemy had set a trap. The thick cloud of dust slowly faded, revealing the scene ahead. A strange blue-skinned creature slowly emerged from the smoke. Without hesitation, Zhongming drew his blade into a defensive stance, trying to identify what kind of monster it was. To his surprise, the creature had no magic crystal and simply stared at him with an eerie gaze. A moment later, its body dissolved into countless glowing particles that sank into the ground, leaving behind pale blue light filled with powerful corrosive poison. Yet in the blink of an eye, its entire body regenerated as if it had never been destroyed. The monster charged at him. Zhongming quickly judged the situation. If he used Feng Qi Yue and the blade was corroded, the loss would be too great. With no better option, he chose to retreat. As he ran, he remembered the treasure he still carried and immediately took out the scroll. He dipped the scroll into a nearby lake and gambled on his luck. Fortunately, he successfully learned the beginner summoning art. The lake instantly erupted with violent waves, and bubbles continuously formed where the scroll touched the water. A water beast soon burst out of the lake. Seeing this, Zhongming could not hide his excitement because his plan had worked. The water beast immediately opened its mouth and unleashed a massive torrent. The powerful stream slammed straight into the strange creature ahead. Its watery body then stretched out and wrapped around the enemy to hold it in place. Zhongming calculated that he had summoned the maximum water element value of 30-30, but it would only last 1 minute, so he had to finish the battle quickly. Without wasting time, he turned back to search for the one-eyed beast that had escaped earlier. The moment it saw Zhongming, the monster panicked and fled again. But while running for its life, it crashed into a group that had just arrived. The leader laughed proudly and said, "What belonged to him would always return sooner or later." The entire group immediately opened fire and bombarded the target. Meanwhile, Zhongming struggled to dodge the relentless hail of bullets. He cursed under his breath. He was only one step too late, and now they had caught up. His rifle was not even reloaded. Was he really going to watch the monster and its treasure bag fall into someone else's hands? Having made up his mind, Zhongming grabbed his pistol and burst out of cover. Shot after shot struck the target, catching the enemy off guard and throwing them off balance. Seizing the chance, he rushed toward the beast that was curled up on the ground, with its head covered. While using his pistol to pin down the enemies ahead, he lifted the beast into the air. Its body was covered in bullet wounds, and every movement produced sickening sounds. The next moment, Zhongming tightened his grip around its neck and held the monster high above the ground. At that moment, he remembered his previous life. Every fight over treasures or monster hunts had turned into a bloody free fall, where more than half the participants died. Staring at the beast in his hand, he wondered if he would be the one left standing this time. Choked by the neck, the monster trembled in absolute terror. Suddenly, Zhongming's danger sense warned him again. A devastating attack tore through the air from a great distance. The impact forced both Zhongming and the beast apart, who had just interfered. The beast was blasted away and crashed heavily onto the ground, screaming in pain. Zhongming looked ahead and realized that if he had reacted even a little slower, his arm would have been severed and he might not have survived. A group slowly approached and coldly warned him to leave now if he wanted to stay alive. Zhongming immediately recognized that all three of them were evolvers. From the way they fought, it was obvious they had fully adapted to the apocalypse. His face turned cold as he kept his eyes locked on the three opponents. Just then, another sharp attack came flying toward him. Zhongming stayed calm and showed no sign of panic. The enemy gave him no chance to recover, chaining attack after attack while closing the distance. The spear tip came within inches of his eye, but he still dodged it. Zhongming knew he was at a huge disadvantage. His right arm had not recovered, his strength was greatly reduced, and he was facing three evolvers at once. Forced to the ground, he suddenly kicked the beast as far away as possible before preparing to retreat. The strange move left all three opponents completely confused, unable to figure out what he was planning. The other group also spotted the beast flying through the air. Wang Jing immediately pointed at it and shouted, "The target is over there. Grab the treasure bag on its back." The beast slammed onto the ground between the two sides, hit a large boulder, and ended up right in the middle of the battlefield. Zhongming simply smiled. Everything was unfolding exactly as he had planned. Seeing the treasure about to fall into someone else's hands, one side immediately yelled for everyone to charge and seize it. They quickly agreed to ignore Zhongming for now and secure the treasure bag first. The other side also got ready to fight. One person stayed behind to block the enemy while the others rushed for the target. Without another word, both sides crashed into each other with their fiercest attacks. Watching everything unfold, Zhongming smiled. The waters had been thoroughly stirred. Now he only needed to wait for the perfect moment to claim everything. Meanwhile, back in the city, nothing remained except the ruins left by the disaster. Mo Yi still stood on the high ground, carefully watching the monster's every move. Below, the beast had picked up a huge steel plate and used it as a shield against the non-stop gunfire. Mo Ye calmly reloaded while keeping her eyes fixed on the target. It seemed the monster still had more tricks left. There was only one special bullet left that Ye Zhongming had crafted. If she switched targets now, all their previous effort would be wasted. Suddenly, her eyes froze as she spotted a familiar figure. It was Gu Fa, running alone through the ruined streets. Mo Ye immediately remembered that Gu Fa had been with Ye Zhongming before they separated. If she was alone now, Zhongming had to be somewhere nearby. Without the slightest hesitation, Mo Ye jumped straight down from the high platform, leaving everyone around her, stunned by the reckless move. She landed smoothly, barely affected by the massive drop. Without slowing down, she sprinted forward and loudly called out to Gu Fa. Seeing Mo Ye, Gu Fa let out a sigh of relief. She quickly asked why Mo Ye was here and anxiously wanted to know where Ye Zhongming and Liang Chuyin were. At that moment, the ground suddenly shook violently, as though something enormous was approaching. Gu Fa immediately looked into the distance in shock, unable to understand what was happening. On the rooftop of a nearby building, the chain criminal suddenly appeared. From above, Cheng Jie looked down at Mo Ye with both worry and frustration written across his face. Xiao Hu and Cheng Long exchanged a glance. Without saying a word, they both reached the same decision. The two immediately jumped down to look for Mo Ye. Cheng Jie angrily shouted after them, but Xia Lei quickly stopped him and told him to let them go. Just then, hurried footsteps suddenly echoed from behind the group. A man rushed over furiously, demanding that Mo Ye show herself because she had broken discipline and had to answer for it. Xia Lei could only shake her head, unable to understand why they still cared about that at a time like this. Cheng Jie immediately argued that the most important thing right now was fighting, not assigning blame. After saying that, he jumped over the railing and declared that he would personally bring Mo Ye back. His actions made the other man visibly furious. Xia Lei quietly raised her rifle. She deeply admired those people, but she also understood that they had chosen a different path from hers. On the horizon, the evening light slowly spread across the city. Gu Fa could not hide her concern because the last time she saw Ye Zhongming, he was with that dangerous monster. Zhongming had deliberately sought out that creature, but did he truly have the strength to defeat it, or was an unexpected disaster waiting for him? She had seen Liang Chuyin risking her life against the enemy, while Zhongming's situation still worried everyone. Gu Fa shook her head and said, Zhongming seemed to have planned everything in advance and was searching for something, so he would never risk his life without a reason against that monster. After a quick discussion, the group decided to rescue Liang Chuyin first, before regrouping with Zhongming. They all knew following him would only slow him down, so they asked Gu Fa to lead the way immediately. But just as they turned to leave, someone shouted from behind, telling Mo Ye to wait for them. Seeing Cheng Long, Xiao Hu, and even Cheng Jie running over, Mo Ye asked in surprise why they were all here. They honestly admitted they had accepted reality. The world had changed, and there was no reason to stay where they were. Cheng Long and Xiao Hu also declared they would follow Mo Ye wherever she went. Cheng Jie lowered his head and quietly said that every era had its own rules for survival, and perhaps this was the right choice in such chaotic times. Hearing those words, Mo Ye smiled with emotion. She believed Zhongming would be thrilled to see Cheng Jie, Cheng Long, and Xiao Hu again. Mo Ye gently patted Gu Fa on the shoulder and told everyone to move out. Saving their endangered teammate came first. Xiao Hu curiously asked who they were going to rescue. Mo Ye smiled and replied that it was his biggest idol. Under the fading sunset, the entire group immediately set off. The moment Liang Chuyin faced the gang blocking the road, she was shocked by how tense the situation had become. Even with blood still flowing from several wounds, she forced herself to stay on her feet and used every bit of strength left to withstand the relentless attacks. Wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, she calmly thought that taking a life was not nearly as terrifying as she had once imagined. The wounded man clutched his mangled arm, his face twisted in pain, and viciously swore that she would die here today. Driven mad with rage, he shouted at his men to keep her alive, even if both her arms and legs had to be crippled. The moment the order was given, everyone opened fire, turning her position into the center of a deadly barrage. Liang Chuyin swiftly swung her soft whip to block part of the gunfire, then instantly wrapped it around one unlucky enemy. She tightened the whip with all her strength, knowing that if the fight dragged on any longer, she would be in grave danger. Just when everything hung by a thread, someone suddenly shouted Liang Chuyin's name, making her freeze for a moment. Hearing the voice, everyone on the enemy side immediately turned toward the sound. It was Mo Ye's group arriving just in time. The moment they appeared, they charged into battle without hesitation. Seeing his men being overwhelmed, the enemy leader could not hide his shock. He angrily demanded to know who these newcomers were. A heavy blow smashed into his face, sending blood and teeth flying. He was stunned, unable to understand why another evolver had appeared. While the two sides fought fiercely, Ye Zhongming quietly hid behind a massive boulder and observed the entire battlefield. After watching carefully, he realized the huge muscular man had definitely obtained a class, most likely a powerhouse type, with incredible physical strength. His gaze then quickly shifted to another person nearby. The man holding the spear had clearly awakened a class as well. Looking at the red-haired woman, Ye Zhongming concluded that all three had not only become one-star evolvers through the apocalypse roulette, but had also encountered at least 3 different roulette wheels. Meanwhile, the two men continued their fierce duel without stopping. He thought it was not surprising that people had already evolved and even gained classes. Apocalypse roulette wheels had appeared everywhere. Anyone lucky enough to find one, figure out how it worked, and take the risk could rapidly grow stronger. At that moment, several people below suddenly lost their balance and fell backward. What surprised him even more was that the soldiers who had just arrived also seemed to have become evolvers. Without hesitation, he dashed toward the treasure bag, thinking that even with the advantage of being reborn, he had only reached 1-star evolution so far. Without a bit of luck, obtaining a class would have been nearly impossible. Judging by his strength and appearance, Zhongming began to suspect the man had won a reward from a level 2 roulette wheel, but activating one required enough level 2 mutated life forms. At this stage, where could anyone even find that many, let alone defeat them alone? He immediately grabbed the sharp spear and charged straight at his opponent. Suddenly, a pale hand gently waved through the air, releasing a thin mist filled with strange energy. The moment he saw it, his expression changed. Only one thought remained in his mind. He could not let that strange mist touch him. It was already too late. The mysterious energy struck him head-on with tremendous force and sent him flying backward. Before he realized it, the spear had pierced deep into his chest, and blood poured from the wound. Even with such a grave injury, he kept his eyes locked on the enemy before him. Gathering his last bit of strength, he slammed the opponent to the ground and roared that they would die together. The shocking scene left Dung completely stunned, and he could only gasp in disbelief. The other man laughed like a madman and shouted that if it did not belong to them, no one else would ever take it. After saying that, he immediately changed direction and charged straight toward Xiao Tong. Dung panicked and screamed for Xiao Tong to get out of the way. It was already too late. The spear pierced straight through her chest. Dung rushed over, caught her in his arms, and cried out her name in agony. The man sneered at the helpless group and declared that the treasure bag was now his. But at that moment, a cold voice filled with killing intent echoed from behind him. Ye Zhongming calmly stepped forward with the treasure bag already in his hand. He glanced back at the man and casually thanked him for helping hold everyone else back. Hearing that, the man flew into a rage, immediately giving chase while roaring in fury. The chase quickly turned intense, with neither side willing to give an inch. As he ran, Zhongming calculated how to use the terrain to shake off his pursuer. Before long, he reached the foot of a towering rocky mountain. Looking up, he felt a hint of caution. Right ahead, the chain criminal was still rampaging wildly, smashing everything in sight. Every swing of its arms shattered rocks, filling the entire area with dust. Seeing the scene, Zhongming smiled faintly and calmly walked straight into the thick cloud of dust. His figure quickly disappeared into the haze, and the pursuer rushed in right behind him. The moment he closed the distance, he threw a devastating punch, forcing Zhongming to draw his dagger and block it. The enemy immediately followed with another vicious strike, but Zhongming twisted aside just in time. Seizing the chance, he rushed deeper into the dense dust cloud. However, before he could get far, the man was already waiting in front of him. Zhongming instantly tensed up, his eyes filled with caution. The man was secretly horrified. Even though Zhongming was only a 1-star evolver, a slightly slower reaction earlier would have gotten him cut down by that silver blade. He then flexed every muscle and let out a furious roar. His power exploded, tearing apart the clothes on his body. When Zhongming saw the man's bare chest, he noticed a sinister black skull tattoo. Only then did he understand how the man had reached 2-star evolution. It was all thanks to the power of the devouring black soul. Elsewhere, Captain Yi kept pulling the trigger, his face tense with worry. Endless waves of terrifying zombies continued pouring in like a tide. They all charged toward a man in protective gear, but he quickly retreated to avoid being surrounded. Even so, the zombies continued falling one after another. A panicked shout rang across the battlefield. A man wearing a green cap hurriedly reported to Captain Yi that the more they fought, the more zombies arrived, and their men could barely hold on. Right after that, another subordinate reported that their forces had split into 4 groups, but 2 had already lost all contact. Director Liu had also sent word that they could not stop the giant mutated zombie and had been forced to retreat. After hearing every report, Captain Yi immediately issued new orders, and the subordinate beside him acknowledged them at once. He loudly ordered the entire team to break through toward the front left direction. The subordinate tried to warn him that the route was still extremely dangerous, but Captain Yi cut him off, insisting it was their only path to survival. After giving the order, he thought to himself that every sacrifice was worth it. As long as Wang Jing completed the mission, he would find a way to support him, no matter how great the cost. Meanwhile, at another location, two young men silently faced each other, and the tense atmosphere signaled that a fierce battle was about to begin. As he studied his opponent, Ye Zhongming recalled a legend from his previous life about a rare black card from the Apocalypse roulette. Unlike normal cards, it had no description, only a strange skull symbol. The image of that card flashed through his mind. Once activated, it had only one effect. For a limited time, the user could devour a life form with the same evolution level and advance by 1 star. In other words, if a 1-star evolver absorbed a level 1 mutated creature with this card, they would immediately become a 2-star evolver. The same rule applied from 2-star to 3-star. However, the Black Soul ability could only be used within strict limits and was only suitable for evolvers up to 2-star. In return, the price was devastating, reducing the user's lifespan to less than 10 years. Wang Ning pointed directly at Ye Zhongming and coldly ordered him to put down the bag if he wanted to leave alive. Ye Zhongming looked at him calmly and realized this was the reason Wang Ning had reached 2-star evolution so quickly. It had almost made him doubt the advantage of his own rebirth. Pointing his blade at Wang Ning, he calmly said that Wang Ning's appearance had been unexpected and forced him to change his original plan. But that did not mean he would give up so easily. Hearing those words, Wang Ning frowned, wondering what hidden trump card his opponent still had. He clenched his fists, staying alert while convincing himself that no scheme could overcome absolute strength. Still holding the yellow bag, Ye Zhongming suddenly pointed into the distance and loudly told Wang Ning to look over there. The moment Wang Ning turned around, he froze in shock after recognizing the man ahead and instinctively called out, "Director Liu." Ye Zhongming then pointed in another direction and told him to look there as well. Seeing the three of them standing there unharmed, he quickly concluded that the lucky survivors from yesterday had all gathered here. He then turned back to Wang Ning and said he had just heard his men call his name. He admitted that he had once admired Wang Ning, but now he felt nothing except disgust. Those words made Wang Ning uneasy. Ye Zhongming continued, saying that real soldiers always deserved respect because they had protected their honor even after the apocalypse began. But Wang Ning and his captain were nothing like that. He went on to accuse them of changing the moment the world changed, saying everything they did now was only for their own benefit. Unable to endure the accusations, Wang Ning angrily shouted that it was all lies. Ye Zhongming merely smiled and asked whether any of it was actually false. Just then, Captain Ye's group slowly approached from behind Wang Ning. Wang Ning's face grew darker as Ye Zhongming continued questioning him. Since the disaster began, had he ever used his forces to rescue civilians, help survivors, or eliminate zombies for the sake of others? Without waiting for an answer, Ye Zhongming concluded that they had never done anything for anyone else. They hunted zombies only for magic crystals, abandoned ordinary people, exploited evolvers for personal gain, and treated real soldiers as nothing more than shields on the battlefield. His final words left the soldiers behind Wang Ning completely stunned. According to Ye Zhongming, they were the true soldiers, the ones who obeyed every order without hesitation and left their families behind to protect everyone else. After saying that, Ye Zhongming looked up at the ruined skyscraper ahead. In the next instant, he burst forward and leaped onto the top of a towering rock. Standing above everyone, he raised the bag and loudly declared that Wang Ning and the others wearing military ranks had long since lost their honor. If they wanted the treasure, they were welcome to come and take it. The moment he finished speaking, he opened the bag and dumped every item inside onto the ground below, challenging them to fight for it and see how many treasures a 2-star evolver could actually seize. Brilliant streams of light, like countless tiny suns, began falling from the sky. Wang Ning looked up at the sight as cold sweat instantly covered his forehead. The people on the opposite side also stood frozen for several seconds, in complete shock. One of them could not hide his amazement and remarked that the soldier's speed was unbelievably fast. Wang Ning immediately reached out and caught one of the falling treasures. The moment it landed in his hand, he burst into excitement. But at that moment, a streak of blue light flashed past at incredible speed. It snatched the item right in front of Wang Ning before he could react, leaving him staring in shock. When everyone looked again, the golden orb was already in Liang Chu Yin's hands. At the same time, Mo Ye rushed in to help. She pushed off the ground, leaped into the air, and caught the orb with both hands. Holding it tightly, She shouted for everyone to get ready to catch it. Without hesitation, Mo Ye hurled the orb toward Park Su-ah, leaving the young woman too stunned to react at first. After the throw, Mo Ye landed lightly and smiled at Liang Chuyin. Hidden in a corner, Chung Long stared at another orb, lodged between the rocks, and quietly said there was still one left. Standing nearby, Wang Ning immediately realized Chung Long was aiming for the remaining orb. Refusing to give him the chance, Wang Ning kicked the boulder in front of him with tremendous force and shouted for Chung Long to get lost. The massive rock shot forward like a cannonball, slammed into Chung Long, and sent him flying. The impact was so heavy that Chung Long coughed up blood on the spot, while the teammate behind him froze in shock. Chung Zhe rushed over in panic to support Chung Long. He quickly asked about his condition, while Chung Long clutched his wound and cursed through gritted teeth. Taking advantage of the chaos, Wang Ning rushed to the orb, picked it up, and celebrated finally getting his hands on it. But just then, a sudden sense of danger made him stop and look up. Thanks to his quick reflexes, Wang Ning twisted aside just in time, narrowly avoiding the incoming attack. It turned out Xiao Hu was the one who had fired that object at him. In the distance, both Mo Ye and Captain Yi stared at the orb without blinking. Even while helping Chung Long, Chung Zhe turned and shouted for Mo Ye to be careful, leaving her staring at him in confusion. Just as someone reached out to grab the orb, an unexpected twist unfolded. A masked man suddenly appeared and blocked the way with a sharp spear, startling his opponent. Without giving him a chance to react, he followed up with a powerful kick. The kick knocked the man to the ground. Then the masked man's two companions rushed in to seize the orb, while Deng laughed loudly and declared the spoils now belonged to their side. Not far away, another group remained hidden in ambush, gripping their weapons as they waited for the perfect opportunity. Suddenly, an old man stood up and coldly ordered everyone to open fire. One subordinate asked in confusion who they should shoot, only to be slapped hard as the old man barked that there were no allies over there, so they should fire at everyone. Witnessing everything, a female soldier was horrified, unable to understand why her leader had ordered an attack even on people from their own side. Her face was filled with worry, and her eyes reddened as she thought about Mo Ye and Chung Zhe, still trapped in that area. Suddenly, she stood up, leaving everyone hiding around her completely stunned. The two people who had been talking immediately fell silent and turned to her with puzzled expressions. Even the prisoner, wrapped in heavy chains, shifted its gaze toward their hiding place. At that very moment, Ye Zhongming also arrived in the area. The chained monster kept letting out deep, terrifying growls. Without hesitation, Ye Zhongming raised his gun and fired, sending a bullet straight at one of the chains binding the monster. But the chains were far too strong, and the shot barely made any difference. Watching from behind, Captain Yi was completely baffled, wondering what this kid was trying to do. The old man on the other side also turned pale, fearing that Ye Zhongming was deliberately drawing the giant monster over to drag everyone down with him. Standing face to face with the monster, Ye Zhongming was so tense that sweat covered his forehead. He knew that with his current strength, injuring this level 4 monster disguised as a prisoner was nearly impossible, let alone killing it. Even so, he quickly regained his composure and raised his gun again, because his real target was not the monster itself, but the priceless materials attached to its chains. With that in mind, he fired another shot, this time aiming directly at the ghost metal locks, fastening the chains around the monster. Knowledge of forging immediately surfaced in his mind. In the future, ghost metal would become one of the most expensive materials in existence, with every gram worth a fortune. Adding even a tiny amount of ghost metal, while forging weapons or equipment, could dramatically improve their quality, and might even grant them special abilities. Looking closely at the bullet hit, Ye Zhongming quietly celebrated as the final lock finally showed a crack. Seeing that, the old man shouted for his men to rush in and seize the spoils. Captain Yi stayed frozen on the rock, completely confused by what was happening. Suddenly, he pulled out his gun and shot a soldier below, sending the man crashing down in agony. The old man panicked but still screamed for his men to return fire at once. Elsewhere, Mo Ye and Park Su-ah stayed hidden. Holding the orb tightly, Su-ah quietly asked what they should do next. Mo Ye replied that the factions should wear each other down, while they waited for the right moment to steal the two treasures Ye Zhongming had thrown out. Park Su-ah peeked at the battlefield and nervously asked what Ye Zhongming was planning and whether he would be in danger. Meanwhile, Ye Zhongming kept moving closer to the chained monster. Suddenly, a massive object slammed down where he had been standing. Thanks to his lightning-fast reflexes, he jumped onto it and looked up at his opponent. Seizing the chance, he sprinted along the monster's staff to close the distance. A perfect leap let him grab onto a section of the chain. He cursed under his breath and hoped his body could survive this reckless gamble. Gripping his knife tighter, Ye Zhongming knew only his intact left arm could help him claim the ghost metal. He poured all his strength into a powerful slash that shattered pieces of metal. The crack on the lock widened, and he could barely hide his excitement as his plan started to work. The monster, however, looked both furious and confused by his actions. Without wasting the chance, Ye Zhongming kept striking the cracked spot again and again. But at that moment, the monster's giant staff suddenly swept past him. Clinging to the chain with his right hand, Ye Zhongming grimaced in pain. He knew his fingers would have been crushed without his evolved body. Staring at the tiny crack, he grew impatient. This ghost metal was unbelievably tough, and cutting through it would not be easy. Sweat streamed down his exhausted face, but he refused to give up after coming this far. Just then, he barely avoided another devastating sweep from the chained prisoner. While dodging, his eyes caught a very unusual detail. Something strange seemed to be hidden inside the monster's staff. Keeping one hand on the chain, he swung his knife hard at the staff. The clean strike sliced through the strange branches growing from inside the weapon. He quickly grabbed the black seeds that were exposed and clenched them in his palm. He shoved the seeds into the crack in the chain and activated his gardener class ability. A special energy flowed from his palm straight into the chain. In an instant, the black seeds began to sprout inside the crack. The sprouts grew at an incredible speed and forced the crack in the ghost metal chain even wider. Feeling the chain slowly breaking apart, Ye Zhongming could not hide his joy. Watching the wild growth, he suddenly remembered the famous man-eating flower from his previous life, a terrifying plant that spread across the world from the dead zone with the monsters. Looking closer, he realized the bloodwood was the true ancestor of those man-eating plants. At that moment, he released his grip and let go of the chain. Then he raised his knife high and charged straight at the chain. Using every bit of strength he had left, he struck the crack and split the chain in two. Everyone below looked up in shock, unable to understand what had just happened. They could only stand there as half of the massive chain crashed to the ground before them. Wang Ning rushed over, grabbed the broken chain, and laughed as he thanked Ye Zhongming. He felt thrilled inside. Even without knowing its true value, Ye Zhongming's desperate effort proved it had to be a priceless treasure. From a distance, Liang Chuyin could barely stay calm. Ye Zhongming had risked his life for that treasure, only to have it stolen in the end. Just then, Ye Zhongming suddenly let out a loud shout. The moment he called out Earth Emperor, a four-legged beast shot over Wang Ning's head from behind at incredible speed. Wang Ning watched in shock as the beast snatched the broken chain and vanished in a flash. At the same time, Ye Zhongming crashed to the ground and grabbed his side in pain. Seeing this, the two women rushed over and frantically called his name. The chained prisoner remained motionless like a mountain, staring at them with icy eyes. Suddenly, green beams shot from the horn on its head and rained down on the people below. Liang Chuyin dropped to her knees beside Ye Zhongming and desperately called his name. Even on the verge of collapse, he forced himself to say that if they wanted to live, they had to leave immediately. After saying that, his face turned pale and he fell completely unconscious. Amid the chaos, only desperate cries for Ye Zhongming echoed through the air. In endless darkness, a gentle voice with a hint of complaint reached him. She said he was always cold as ice, with eyes that saw through everyone, and a face that never seemed to care. Ye Zhongming slowly opened his eyes. He could only make out a blurry figure as the voice softly continued, saying he was not invincible, just a little stronger than most. She begged him to wake up, even if it meant arguing with her again, because she had been worried about him every day. When he finally opened his eyes, Ye Zhongming still looked exhausted, with a bandage across his nose. Behind him, Park Su-ah was caring for him with a warm towel, while muttering that she had never had to look after anyone like this. He stayed silent, secretly sighing because he had expected Liang Chuyin or Mo Ye to be by his bedside, not the girl he could never quite figure out. Park Su-ah still had her back turned and had no idea he was awake. She kept complaining that someone so young had no reason to wear such a cold and serious face every day. When she turned around with the warm towel, Ye Zhongming immediately closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. Park Su-ah kept talking, saying she had first thought he was the type to save the damsel in distress, but instead he gave her conditions and made her choose. Hearing that, he could only think that he had simply been practical, and in the end he still came back to save her. Even though he stayed silent, The irritation on his face was obvious. Meanwhile, Park Soo-ah was convinced he was still unconscious, leaving him unsure whether to open his eyes or keep pretending. Suddenly, she stood up and loudly declared, "Hey, student Ye Zhongming, just because you saved my life does not mean you can do whatever you want. I am still your teacher." Resting her chin on her hand, she smiled gently and said he was younger than her, so he should address her properly. Calling her teacher felt too awkward, so he could just call her big sister. After that, she gently touched his cheek and quietly said that from now on he should call her big sister, little brother Ye Zhongming. But her smile soon faded. Park Soo-ah admitted that she wished he would wake up soon because the whole group was in serious danger. Every day they fought over food and water while battling zombies, monsters, and corrupted humans. Even she had used 9 of his knives to kill plenty of enemies. Ye Zhongming kept his eyes closed and listened carefully. Fighting zombies over supplies was nothing unusual, but being hunted by other people was what truly caught his attention. Park Soo-ah took the towel to wash it and continued talking. The group was in turmoil because Mo Ye's former co-workers kept demanding a share of the loot, claiming they had helped everyone escape. That constantly put them at odds with Liang Chu-yin. Mo Ye tried to keep the peace, but Park Soo-ah knew she was under tremendous pressure, especially since the instructor also seemed to have his own secret plans. Park Soo-ah stared into the distance and sighed. In her eyes, only Xiaolei treated everyone fairly, but almost no one respected his opinion. Even she felt exhausted, let alone Mo Ye and Liang Chu-yin. All she wanted was for Ye Zhongming to wake up soon. After pouring out her thoughts, she picked up the basin and prepared to leave, reminding him to wait while she went to get another bowl of porridge. Just then, a familiar voice came from behind her. "How long have I been unconscious?" The sudden question startled Park Soo-ah so badly that she dropped the basin onto the floor. She hurriedly asked when he had woken up, while Ye Zhongming slowly sat up and looked straight at her. The next morning, the scene shifted to a large apartment complex. Inside the building, many people had gathered, but they were split into separate groups with obvious tension between them. Ye Zhongming observed everyone around him and quietly concluded that Liang Chu-yin's group was probably quite satisfied with the current situation. Shifting his gaze to Mo Ye and the woman beside her, he guessed she was Xiaolei, the one Park Soo-ah had praised for being fair and upright. In sharp contrast to Liang Chu-yin's side, Xiao Hu's group all wore grim and tense expressions. Looking toward another group, Ye Zhongming quickly recognized the man as Yang Zhen. From what Park Soo-ah had said, he had been eyeing their treasures for days. Just then, Earth Emperor suddenly ran over, barking excitedly as it rushed toward him. Hearing the familiar call, Ye Zhongming walked over, knelt on one knee, and gently spoke to it. As soon as he finished, Earth Emperor picked up the item in its mouth and obediently handed it to its master. Ye Zhongming took the item and carefully examined every detail. At that moment, Yang Zhen stepped forward with a smile and said that since Ye Zhongming was awake, it was time to discuss his reward. Ye Zhongming calmly told him to get to the point. Given the chance, Yang Zhen immediately claimed credit, saying that when Wang Ning ambushed the group, he was the one who led the rescue, and no one could deny it. At that moment, Mo Yi quietly walked over to stand beside Ye Zhongming and subtly signaled him to pay attention. She softly confirmed that although Cheng Long had sacrificed himself to save everyone, Yang Zhen's group had also contributed a great deal during that battle. Hearing that, Yang Zhen grew even more smug. He went on and on about searching for food and water, killing zombies, and fighting Wang Ning, insisting he had never backed down once. Liang Chu-yin immediately sneered, saying he never backed down because he preferred dirty tricks and stabbing people in the back. Exposed in front of everyone, Yang Zhen flew into a rage, yelled at Liang Chu-yin, and threatened that if not for Mo Ye, he would have dealt with her long ago. Liang Chu-yin refused to back down and immediately pulled out her leather whip. But before she could make a move, Ye Zhongming stepped in and stopped her. Seeing that, Yang Zhen stressed again that he had saved Ye Zhongming's life more than once, so asking for some payment was only fair. Folding his arms, Ye Zhongming answered with a cold expression. He admitted the request was reasonable. Yang Zhen immediately revealed his true goal and proposed splitting all the treasures from Pearl Lake, equally as repayment for saving their lives. Instead of answering, Ye Zhongming turned to Mo Yi and asked where those items were now. Mo Ye opened her backpack and said they had obtained 3 treasures that day. After examining 2 of them, Ye Zhongming frowned slightly and asked where the third one was. The question made Mo Ye hesitate, and her eyes instinctively shifted toward Cheng Ze. Seeing that, Cheng Ze raised the mysterious card he had been holding. Ye Zhongming remained calm and said they should inspect the other 2 items first. Opening the yellow scroll, he discovered it was an alchemist class recipe. It was not the rarest kind, but it had excellent practical value. Unfortunately, no one in his team had awakened that class yet. The recipe described how to brew a long-distance walking potion that greatly boosted stamina for 2 hours, with its strength depending on the alchemist's level and the quality of the ingredients. Examining the crystal next, he quickly recognized it as a 1 cubic meter spatial crystal. In his opinion, it was incredibly valuable because although it offered no combat power, it provided extremely convenient storage. After thinking it over, Ye Zhongming concluded that the egg-sized spatial crystal was easy to carry. Its 1 cubic meter of space was enough for magic crystals and other daily supplies. With that in mind, he handed both treasures to Park Su-ah so he would not have to carry the bulky backpack or attract unwanted attention. After settling that, Ye Zhongming asked Cheng Zhe about the mysterious card. Cheng Zhe immediately replied that it was a resurrection card. Standing beside him, Mo Ye lowered her head in guilt. She admitted that the man had once been her instructor, so during the retreat, she had trusted him with the treasure, never expecting things to end like this. Ye Zhongming looked at Cheng Zhe and firmly declared that those items would never be divided. Hearing that answer, Yang Jin immediately signaled his men to aim their guns at Ye Zhongming and accused him of trying to keep all the loot for himself. Despite the threat, Ye Zhongming calmly raised both hands and said he acknowledged that Yang Jin had once saved the group. However, these treasures had been obtained before that, so they had nothing to do with Yang Jin's side. If repayment was needed, he would compensate them with something else. Yang Jin smirked and told him to show something that was actually worth enough. Ye Zhongming immediately asked Liang Chuyin to bring his backpack. Moments later, he pulled out 2 unusual items. Holding up the first bottle, he explained that it was an immunity potion that could prevent the user from turning into a zombie. Yang Zhen stared at the bottle with obvious greed, but still shook his head and said it was not enough. Ye Zhongming then took out the second bottle and explained that it was a 1-star evolution potion. Anyone who drank it would become a 1-star evolver, and everyone already knew how valuable that was. The greed in Yang Zhen's eyes grew even stronger, yet he simply replied that he still was not satisfied. Even Ye Zhongming found it hard to understand and thought the man was unbelievably greedy. Liang Chuyin could not hold back anymore and accused Yang Zhen of being shameless. Everyone knew how valuable an evolution potion was at this stage. She said she had seen 2 groups slaughter each other over a single bottle just yesterday, leaving dozens dead. Yet Yang Zhen still wanted more. Mo Yi also spoke up in agreement. She believed the potions were more than enough because every one of them had been earned with the group's lives. Yang Jin only sneered with one hand in his pocket and coldly replied that, in his eyes, their lives were not worth that much. Ye Zhongming stepped forward and offered something else. He said he also had meat from a level 2 mutant alligator. The first time someone ate it, it could improve their physique. While it was not as powerful as an evolution potion, some people could even double their strength. Hearing that, Yang Zhen eagerly asked whether it still worked for evolvers. Ye Zhongming nodded. It was even more effective for 1-star evolvers, while its benefits dropped sharply after reaching 2 stars. Yang Zhen laughed excitedly and declared that he wanted that as well, but he still was not finished. As he spoke, he slowly pulled a pistol from his pocket and looked at Ye Zhongming with complete confidence. He praised him for surviving the apocalypse while leading a team made up mostly of women. He also mentioned how Ye Zhongming had driven Wang Ning into a rage and admitted he truly admired his abilities. Then the gun was aimed directly at Ye Zhongming. Yang Zhen smiled and said that once Ye Zhongming recovered, he could easily earn these items back. In his view, giving up a little now to gain much more later was the lesson he had learned after half a lifetime. Faced with the threat, Ye Zhongming remained calm. He pointed at Cheng Zhe and said the card could be given to Yang Zhen. He declared that should be enough. His decision left everyone present stunned into silence. The atmosphere instantly became tense as Cheng Zhe also drew his gun and aimed it at Ye Zhongming, warning him not to force him to use the card he was holding. Yang Zhen kept his arrogant smile and replied that there was no need to worry because he was not foolish enough to make that choice. He then ordered Ye Zhongming to throw over the backpack and the black metal block immediately, or he would shoot him on the spot. Facing the threat, Ye Zhongming coldly asked if Yang Zhen had finally revealed his true intentions. He calmly explained that from the very beginning, Yang Zhen had wanted all of their belongings. He only held back because he was unsure where Cheng Zhe stood, feared Ye Zhongming's strength, and worried Mo Ye would fight to the death. But after seeing Ye Zhongming badly injured and no longer at full strength, Yang Zhen lost all caution. He also realized Cheng Ze had no intention of siding with Ye Zhongming's group, so all his concerns disappeared. As for the other evolvers, they had strength but lacked resolve and ruthlessness, allowing Yang Zhen to seize the upper hand so easily. Even so, Yang Zhen's greatest mistake was his endless greed. He did not want just a share, he wanted everything. Ye Zhongming continued by saying that Yang Zhen was right about this being the apocalypse. But there was another truth he wanted to give him for free. If you want to take everything, you first need the strength to keep it. The mocking words twisted Yang Zhen's face with rage. But before he could react, a bullet suddenly flew in from the distance and pierced straight through his chest. His subordinates immediately cried out in panic. When they turned around, they saw Xiaolei holding a gun behind them. The group immediately aimed their weapons at her and shouted for revenge. Just then, Earth Emperor suddenly burst out from behind Xiaolei. Moving at incredible speed, it leaped onto a bald man and clamped its jaws around his neck, leaving him screaming in agony. Seeing that, the rest of the group panicked and scattered in every direction. Meanwhile, Ye Zhongming looked at the pale-faced Cheng Ze and calmly said he had lost. As long as he handed over the card, he could still leave safely. Ye Zhongming thought to himself that in his previous life, anyone who threatened his interests would have been killed. But now, both his situation and Cheng Ze's were completely different. The morning sunlight slowly spread across the city, shining between the tall buildings. Near the window, Xiao Hu and Mo Ye stood quietly with worried expressions. Ye Zhongming slowly walked over and said Cheng Ze could not have gone far. He told them to bring him the meat and one immunity potion. He quietly calculated that killing Cheng Ze would have been easy, but it would only make Mo Ye wary of him. Taking a step back now would earn her trust more easily. With that in mind, he turned to Mo Ye and gently said that although Cheng Ze had done many wrong things, he had once been her teacher. With the immunity potion improving his condition, his chances of survival would be much higher. Hearing that, Mo Ye was so moved that she sincerely thanked Ye Zhongming again and again. As soon as he finished speaking, she ran off at once and called for Xiao Hu to follow her. Xiao Hu quickly caught up behind her. Xiaolei, who had been silently watching the entire time, finally asked if he was not being a little too hypocritical. Ye Zhongming kept his back to her, casually tossed over a dark blue vial, and calmly replied that if she thought so, she was welcome to try being a hypocrite like him. Xiaolei caught the vial and asked what it was. Half joking, she wondered if it was compensation for making her shoot her former teammate. Ye Zhongming simply replied without turning around that it was not a consolation gift, but an advance payment. He always kept his promises, and once he fully recovered, he would personally help her find her husband. As he left the room, he began reviewing everything he had gained and lost during the Pearl Lake expedition. Back in his room, Ye Zhongming quietly stared at the items spread across the bed and fell into thought. After taking inventory, he realized his biggest loss was his spear. He had also used up several level 2 magic crystals and a few potions during his trades. Next, he picked up the yellow card for a closer look. After examining it carefully, he finally understood why Cheng Ze had desperately tried to keep it. It was a Hellhound summoning card. Without hesitation, Ye Zhongming activated the treasure and stored the card inside the blue spatial crystal. Thinking back on the entire trip, he smiled faintly. Despite the losses, the rewards far outweighed them, especially the precious spatial crystal. The moment he set the spatial crystal down, a faint gray mist drifted out from inside. He was about to slip it into his pocket as usual, but then something strange made him stop. A piece of cloth had appeared inside. Picking up the yellow cloth, Ye Zhongming suddenly realized it was the same golden pouch from before. He immediately recalled the battle over the treasures. To create chaos and draw everyone's attention away, he had deliberately torn the pouch apart so he could destroy the ghost metal. It had clearly been ripped to pieces. Yet when he touched it, the fabric felt unbelievably soft and smooth. It was unlike silk or any material he had ever encountered. To test it, Ye Zhongming immediately drew his knife and slashed at it. The blade swept across, but the cloth remained completely unharmed. He was stunned because even ghost metal had once been damaged by Feng Qi Yue, yet this cloth did not even have a scratch. Refusing to believe it, he slashed at it again, with much greater force. This time, after putting in more strength, a tiny tear finally appeared on the surface. But the tear immediately healed before his eyes, leaving Ye Zhongming even more astonished. Instinctively, he threw the cloth away and exclaimed in disbelief, wondering what kind of bizarre object it really was. The cloth accidentally landed over the nearby egg, and a dazzling light instantly burst out. Ye Zhongming stared in shock as the light grew brighter and brighter. He carefully used the tip of his blade to push the golden cloth aside and inspect the egg. After a quick look, he realized the life force inside the egg was draining at an incredible speed. Only then did Ye Zhongming finally understand. The golden cloth could absorb the life force of other beings to repair itself. It was truly a rare treasure. That also explained why the monster carrying it could recover so quickly. Its amazing regeneration never came from its own body. It relied entirely on the golden cloth stealing life force. Even so, Ye Zhongming still had no idea how to use the strange item on command. After thinking it over, he stored the cloth inside the crystal space. Then he picked up another piece of loot and smiled. This one could directly boost his strength. Without any hesitation, he shoved the young treasure into his mouth. In the blink of an eye, Ye Zhongming swallowed it whole. Almost instantly, an enormous wave of energy exploded inside him. Veins bulged across his face as power surged through every part of his body. The overwhelming energy flooded his body with terrifying pressure, leaving Ye Zhongming gasping in pain. But a split second later, every trace of pain vanished. He was stunned by how quickly it disappeared. Without wasting another second, Ye Zhongming jumped out of bed. After carefully checking himself, he was shocked to find every previous injury completely healed. He quickly measured his current strength and found both his power and stamina had skyrocketed. He estimated he was now 8 or 9 times stronger than an ordinary person. For a 1-star evolver, absorbing a level 2 young treasure was an unbelievable gain. Taking out another item from the crystal space, Ye Zhongming also noticed his mental power had increased dramatically. That meant stronger skills and enough mental energy to use his craftsman profession on the ghost metal he had collected. With that thought, he gently tossed the item into the air. The refined collection technique activated at once. Under the skills effect, the solid item quickly broke apart into countless tiny pieces. Every fragment was immediately pulled into the crystal space. Ye Zhongming prepared the materials while calculating each step. He divided the ghost metal into 100 portions of about 10 grams each and decided to use only one portion for his first forging test. After everything was ready, he gripped his saber tightly and stood firm. Next, Ye Zhongming activated the forging technique. With the skill's help, the saber immediately entered the refining and upgrading process. He watched the floating mass of molten metal with complete focus. While calculating the perfect material ratio, he fused the ghost metal with a level 2 magic crystal and the sharp claws of the prosperous turtle crocodile. Right then, a brilliant flash engulfed the entire area. When the light faded, the saber was noticeably longer than before. Ye Zhongming could not hide his excitement, because his first forging attempt had exceeded every expectation. Not only were its attributes greatly improved, but Feng Qi Yue also awakened a new skill after absorbing the ghost metal. It was called Full Power Blade Aura. Whenever the user unleashed full strength, the blade fired a saber aura as long as the weapon itself. Ye Zhongming judged that even before the upgrade, Feng Qi Ye was already capable of fighting level 2 and even level 3 evolved creatures. Now, after merging with the ghost metal, it had become even stronger and gained blade aura as well. The reward was far beyond what he had hoped for. He immediately tested it with a slash. A sharp blade aura shot forward and tore through the air. Seeing it reminded him that blade aura was the signature ability of a master swordsman, earned only after advancing through apprentice, beginner, intermediate, and advanced ranks. Thinking about it, Ye Zhongming sighed. In the apocalypse, most survivors never advanced beyond the basic ranks. True masters, grandmasters, and transcendents were incredibly rare. Anyone who reached the transcendent rank earned the title of god, such as blade god or smith god. He also recalled that before reaching Transcendent, the Master and Grandmaster ranks were commonly known together as the demigod ranks. Gently running his hand across the newly forged blade, Ye Zhongming smiled with satisfaction. He never expected the ghost metal to grant blade aura, the most symbolic ability for a swordsman. With this divine weapon in hand, he was confident that even a level 4 Lai's iron might not survive a single slash. Even so, Ye Zhongming quickly calmed himself. He knew he was still only an apprentice craftsman. Without rare materials and proper blueprints, the ghost metal could not reach its full potential. Forging more now would only waste resources. His top priority was growing stronger while collecting better materials and designs. After weighing everything carefully, Ye Zhongming stood quietly and planned his next move. Meanwhile, the others gathered on the other side of the room to discuss their plans. As Xiao Hu turned around, he immediately spotted Ye Zhongming walking in. He burst into laughter and shouted, "Got yourself a new weapon again? Let me see that saber." Ye Zhongming smirked. "Sure, if you can take it from me first." that only excited Xiao Hu even more. He rushed forward with a grin. "Your words, don't blame me if I don't hold back." Xiao Hu lowered his stance and planted one foot firmly as he prepared to attack. He drove all his strength into his elbow and struck straight toward Ye Zhongming's face. But before the attack could land, Ye Zhongming effortlessly stepped aside with speed that left Xiao Hu stunned. In the next instant, Ye Zhongming appeared beside him and lightly rested the saber on Xiao Hu's shoulder, leaving him no choice but to admit defeat. Xiao Hu sighed helplessly. "I'm outmatched in both speed and strength. I never had a chance." Ye Zhongming lightly tapped his head and smiled. "The world has never been fair. The stronger one makes the rules. Even as an evolver, you're still not strong enough to face me." Xiao Hu folded his arms stubbornly, still unwilling to accept it. Ye Zhongming calmly explained that only when every strike aimed to kill instead of suppressing an enemy would Xiao Hu be ready for real combat beside him. After saying that, Ye Zhongming changed the subject and asked if anyone had a map. Brother Wang pointed to a spot on the map and said that was their current location. Then Ye Zhongming moved his finger to another area and declared it would be their next destination. Xiaolei was slightly surprised, because it was the place where her husband worked. It seemed Ye Zhongming planned to keep his promise sooner than she expected. Liang Chuyin worried the journey was far too long. Even the shortest route was no small distance. Ye Zhongming explained that vehicles were no longer practical because zombies and mutated creatures had taken over the world. Even a little noise could attract nearby monsters, so traveling on foot was the safest option. He pointed at the map again and explained that this was the city center, while the other side was the old district. No matter which path they chose, the road ahead would be extremely dangerous. Mo Yi suddenly asked that while she understood the other locations, wasn't the final stop just a hospital for treatment and rehabilitation? Ye Zhongming nodded. He said hospitals during the apocalypse were filled with strange dangers and required extreme caution. Deep down, he knew far more than anyone else, but even he could not yet confirm his suspicions. Liang Chuyin immediately expressed her trust. Ye Zhongming had proven himself many times, so following his plan was the right choice. Ye Zhongming marked the route on the map and firmly announced that the team would travel along this path. Xiaolei frowned. She understood avoiding the crowded old district, but why take such a long detour? Even if everything went smoothly, it would take over 15 hours, nearly twice as long as usual. Ye Zhongming calmly replied that he had promised to reunite Xiaolei with her husband, but that did not mean risking his own life and the lives of his teammates. He could not guarantee everything would go perfectly, but he would do everything possible to keep everyone safe. After thinking for a moment, Xiaolei asked if the detour served another purpose. Ye Zhongming immediately confirmed that it was the best way to strengthen the team and improve their chances of escorting her safely. Mo Yi then asked if they would leave immediately. Ye Zhongming shook his head. There was no need to rush. Everyone had endured too much over the past few days, and they still had an old score from the previous battle to settle. Before long, a new morning arrived. As the first rays of sunlight spread across the streets, a man carrying a long spear rushed over and pounded on an apartment door, shouting for Brother Deng. Inside the old room, Brother Deng was carefully wrapping Xiao Dong's wounds. One of his men excitedly reported that they had collected another 35 magic crystals. Altogether, they should finally have enough for their plan. Brother Deng looked up and immediately asked how many magic crystals they had in total. The subordinate quickly answered that they had accumulated over 300. Hearing that, Brother Deng lost his temper. He reminded everyone how they had traded a silver-grade pair of boots for 260 magic crystals, only to waste every last one without getting any results. The man scratched his head and muttered that no one expected each use of the roulette wheel to cost more magic crystals than the last. Xiao Dong slowly got out of bed and told everyone to stop blaming each other. Finding the mysterious roulette wheel had already been incredible luck. Otherwise, the three of them would have died long ago. The subordinate sighed in amazement at Xiao Dong's luck. In just 5 spins, she had won 3 evolution serums and 1 skill scroll, with only a single bad result. Then, from the multicolored roulette wheel, she got a profession scroll in only 2 spins. Her luck was unbelievable. Brother Deng looked at Xiao Dong with hesitation, as if he wanted to say something. But at that exact moment, a loud crash echoed through the room, as a saber burst through the window and shattered the silence. In the next instant, Ye Zhongming appeared before them and closed the distance in a flash, placing his blade against Xiao Dong's neck. Brother Deng's face turned pale as he recognized the newcomer, Ye Zhongming. Ye Zhongming gave a cold smile. That's right, I'm the one who came. At the same time, Xiao Hu and Mo Ye charged into the room with their weapons raised, shouting for everyone to put their hands on their heads and stay still. Xiao Hu laughed loudly. You chased me so confidently the other day. Let's see you act tough now. Ye Zhongming quietly noted that a simple surprise attack had subdued 2 people with professions and 1 evolver. Mistakes like this only happened in the early days of the apocalypse. Later on, every survivor would learn through bloodshed and surround their shelters with traps and warning systems. Xiaodong clenched her teeth and glared at him with fury. If you want to kill us, then do it, but don't expect us to surrender. Ye Zhongming replied calmly. If I wanted you dead, I wouldn't need hostages. With how careless you were, I could have killed all of you in a dozen different ways without anyone noticing. Then Ye Zhongming turned to Brother Deng. Answer 1 question correctly, and you live. Stay silent, and you die. Under the pressure, Brother Deng gritted his teeth and agreed to answer. Ye Zhongming got straight to the point and demanded the location of the multicolored roulette wheel. The question left Brother Deng completely frozen. Seeing him hesitate, Ye Zhongming calmly pressed the blade even closer against Xiaodong's neck. The icy edge lightly cut Xiaodong's skin, and a thin line of blood slowly trickled down. Brother Deng panicked and shouted for him to stop. He immediately revealed the roulette wheel's location at Longrun Jiayuan, Building 83, Block 1000, Room 107. He even offered to guide them there himself. Brother Deng shivered inside. He knew that, if he had hesitated for even a moment longer, Ye Zhongming would have killed without hesitation. The scene soon shifted to another apartment complex. Brother Deng's group was now leading Ye Zhongming and the others toward their destination. Along the way, Ye Zhongming told Xiao Hu to stop talking so much. It was just a damaged saber and not worth praising over and over. Xiao Hu immediately disagreed. It may look battered, but its power is incredible. Just watching it slice through zombies like vegetables says it all. Ye Zhongming raised a hand, signaling everyone to stay quiet, and reminded Xiao Hu to lower his voice. Xiao Hu stayed close and curiously asked why Ye Zhongming had 2 identical sabers. Ye Zhongming explained that both were made through his craftsman profession. That only made Xiao Hu even more curious. He immediately asked when he would get the chance to obtain a profession of his own. Ye Zhongming smiled. No need to beat around the bush. Profession assignments depend on what suits each person best, and the most important requirement is, he continued, saying only those willing to live and die alongside him would be considered. Hearing that, Xiao Hu fell silent in thought. After a moment, he firmly replied that he only took orders from Captain Mo Ye. Ye Zhongming silently nodded. This was the normal reaction. If Xiao Hu had switched loyalty just for a profession, he would never keep someone like that around. Soon after, the group stopped in front of apartment 1170. Brother Deng confirmed they had arrived. Without hesitation, Xiao Hu kicked the door hard, blowing it open. Mo Ye and Xiao Hu raised their guns and took combat stance at the entrance. In the center of the room was a huge multicolored roulette wheel, and Xiao Hu stared at it in shock. Ye Zhongming slowly walked toward the wheel. He placed his hand on its surface and sighed softly, saying they would likely have to stay here for a while. Meanwhile, outside on the streets, zombie hordes continued wandering everywhere. At that moment, a strange box was suddenly thrown into the middle of the road. The sound immediately attracted all nearby zombies as they swarmed toward it. A few seconds later, the box exploded violently, and a massive shockwave blew the zombies apart in all directions. Ye Zhongming looked at the horde and signaled Xiao Hu, "Your turn to clean them up." Xiao Hu widened his eyes, then asked where Ye Zhongming learned to make such bombs. They're powerful and can be triggered remotely. In peacetime, the police would definitely get involved. Ye Zhongming frowned. Stop talking and fight. Xiao Hu laughed awkwardly and charged into the zombie group with his blade. While Xiao Hu fought his way through the horde, Ye Zhongming quietly observed from a distance. Seeing the rising smoke, he guessed Liang Shuyan's side was also progressing smoothly. If things continued like this, they could gather over 200 magic crystals before dawn. He told Xiao Hu that after clearing this area, he should immediately head to the market to assist Liang Shuyan, while he would check another zone. Xiao Hu loudly acknowledged. As he ran, Ye Zhongming calculated again. Each activation of the multicolored roulette required more magic crystals than before. According to Brother Deng's group, their last attempt had burned over 200 crystals and still failed. This time, they would need at least 350, and possibly even 500 for the final spin. Arriving in front of a large supermarket, Ye Zhongming changed his plan. He no longer had time to farm low-tier crystals and needed to find level 2 magic crystals as soon as possible. He judged that supermarkets once held large crowds, meaning far more zombies were concentrated here. That also meant higher chances of natural evolution among them. Stepping into the dark interior, Ye Zhongming believed encountering a level 2 mutated zombie here was very likely. Suddenly, a zombie burst out from the shadows, roaring as it charged straight at him. Ye Zhongming tilted his body slightly to dodge, then drove his blade straight through its head. He continued sweeping through nearby zombies. After they fell, he realized they were all ordinary ones. This floor clearly did not contain his target. Suddenly, a drop of green slime landed on his shoulder, instantly alerting him. Looking up at the ceiling, he spotted a massive shadow clinging above. It was a mutated long-legged spider, extremely dangerous. The creature immediately spat out a huge web, sealing off the entire space in front of him. Ye Zhongming quickly assessed the situation. The web's range was too large to dodge, but it was the perfect chance to test the power of Feng Qi Yue. He poured all his strength into the blade and unleashed a full-power slash, erupting in a brilliant blade light. Even the mutated spider froze for a moment, shocked by the force of the attack. Seizing the opportunity, Ye Zhongming leapt forward and swung another strike that tore through the air. The blade aura shot out instantly, slicing cleanly through the monster's body. The spider's massive body split into two and crashed onto the floor. Ye Zhongming collected the magic crystal from the corpse, then carefully harvested its legs as materials. Looking at the result, he was quite satisfied. This trip had finally paid off. But at that moment, a strange object suddenly tore through the air at extreme speed, aiming straight for Ye Zhongming's back. Thanks to his lightning-fast reflexes, Ye Zhongming managed to block the ambush with his saber. He immediately went on full alert, wondering what had attacked him from the shadows. After only a brief glance, his expression changed completely. A strong sense of unease rose in his heart. Once he saw his opponent clearly, Ye Zhongming was shocked. It was a whisper woman along with its pet. The sight brought back memories from the early days of his previous life in the apocalypse, when a strange and bloody legend spread everywhere. He recalled a veiled woman, standing among the mutilated corpses of men. She would seduce her targets, spend a passionate night with them, and once it ended, she would dismember them, rip out their organs, and drain their blood while they were still conscious, dying in unbearable agony. Seeing the whisper woman flick its tongue in provocation, Ye Zhongming remembered that the legend was later proven to be real. Young women who became zombies and completed their evolution would transform into a special type known as whisper women. In his memory, whisper women were not the strongest type of zombie, but their innate ability, seed of mind, was terrifying. It allowed them to fully control mutated beings or beasts, turning them into loyal subordinates while preserving their intelligence. Their pets could also evolve alongside them, growing stronger over time. Ye Zhongming raised his blade defensively, realizing there was not only a mutated spider here but also a whisper woman. Even worse, her pet was a fast-moving mutated cat, forming a deadly level 2 pair. The whisper woman and the black cat stood facing him, their cold eyes locked onto every one of his movements. He suddenly recalled rumors from his past life in the East Sea region about a level 9 whisper woman. Some even claimed it rode a giant white serpent. At that time, it looked and acted no different from a real human. Ye Zhongming continued to reflect. Although many level 9 stories were exaggerated, whisper women were indeed capable of speaking in regional dialects. High-level individuals were even less bloodthirsty and sometimes traded with humans. The more he thought about it, the more dangerous it seemed. There were even theories that some level 9 whisper women could recover all their human memories and secretly blend into human society unnoticed. Looking at the whisper woman in front of him, Ye Zhongming did not dare to lower his guard. Before reaching level 9, this species was infamous for its cruelty and bloodlust, far beyond most others. At that moment, the black cat suddenly shot forward at extreme speed. But its target was not Ye Zhongming. It rushed straight to the spider corpse and began tearing into the remaining flesh. Seeing this, Ye Zhongming immediately understood they did not see him as a threat. They believed they could deal with him any time, so they were focusing on absorbing energy from the spider before its life force completely dissipated. The sense of being underestimated ignited Ye Zhongming's fighting intent. Coldly, he thought this era was no longer the same as in his previous life. Without hesitation, he swung his blade and charged at the black cat, determined to prove he was no longer the weak man he once was. A sharp blade aura tore through the air, aimed directly at the cat, devouring the spider corpse. Seeing its pet in danger, the whisper woman let out a panicked scream. The black cat also jolted and looked up at the incoming blade aura with fierce momentum. In that split second, it barely managed to dodge, narrowly escaping a fatal strike. Immediately after, the Whisper Woman activated her ability and quickly healed the mutated cat's injuries. Seeing this, Ye Zhongming was slightly shocked as he recognized the ability, Energy Exchange. He focused fully on the Whisper Woman, carefully assessing her power. This was an extremely troublesome innate ability. Any injury could be converted into energy and instantly healed. Even worse, they could share energy during evolution, and at higher levels, their very lives could become linked. Watching the Whisper Woman gently stroke the mutated cat, Ye Zhongming grew even more cautious. Normally, a spirit-type creature would need to reach level 9 to awaken such an ability. Yet this level 2 monster had already manifested it. He knew he absolutely could not allow her to heal the black cat, or he would have to face 2 dangerous enemies at once. Ye Zhongming stops hesitating and takes the initiative, roaring as he charges straight at the enemy. Yupo dodges at extreme speed, completely evading his closer-range strike, which surprises him. After a brief observation, he realizes her speed is far beyond expectations. He immediately changes direction, retreats out of the supermarket, ignoring the low-level zombies while planning his next move. The urgent priority is treating his wounds, since blood scent will attract zombies, so he cuts a path and heads for the exit. In an instant, Ye Zhongming breaks through the shattered glass door and rushes outside. Without hesitation, he leaps down from the upper floor. He lands safely, but a strong sense of unease rises in his mind. He turns back and sees a swarm of mutated birds rushing out from the broken entrance. He unleashes blade energy and slashes through the incoming flock. Every strike is precise, leaving none of the mutated birds alive. At that moment, strange sounds come from the sewer as something crawls upward, forcing him to stay alert. A group of mutated rats appears, and he immediately engages and kills them. Looking up, he sees Yu Po hovering above the supermarket roof, realizing she is controlling everything behind the scenes. He looks at her and smirks in provocation, showing no fear of her summoned beasts. Blade energy erupts again, sweeping through the rat horde. However, 2 blue mutant rats manage to break through and bite onto his arm. Ye Zhongming reacts instantly, shaking them off and decapitating both in one motion. When the blade light fades, only piles of rat corpses remain at his feet. The surviving rats scatter in panic and flee in all directions. Ye Zhongming raises his blade coldly, pointing directly at Yu Po above. Seeing her nearly wiped out beast army, Yu Po finally feels fear. Realizing she cannot defeat Ye Zhongming, she chooses to retreat immediately. Before disappearing, she looks back with a vicious glare, clearly plotting something else. Ye Zhongming coldly says that next time they meet, she will die. At that moment, a loud explosion echoes outside, making Suo Yin and Xiaolei turn toward the sound. Ye Zhongming leans against the door, breathing heavily, his body covered in bleeding wounds and exhaustion. Tu An quickly locks the door and nervously checks his injuries. Ye Zhongming tells her in a hoarse voice to take wine and bandages from his bag. While carefully treating his wounds, Suo Yin asks where Mo Ye and Xiao Hu are. She replies that they went out to gather supplies, while Xiaolei steps in to help with the bandaging. Xiaolei works skillfully, wrapping the bandages tightly while noticing his injuries include both sharp blade wounds and deep beast bites, wondering what kind of enemy he faced. Sensing her thoughts, Ye Zhongming coldly urges her to hurry, warning that blood scent will attract zombies, making her speed up in embarrassment. The scarfist man mocks him, asking if he just got beaten badly, but still managed to survive. At that moment, Xiao Hu and Mo Ye return with bags full of supplies, happily reporting they found plenty of food. Ye Zhongming glances at the mysterious wheel and tells everyone to eat first. He then takes out a large number of magic crystals and throws them into the wheel. After absorbing the crystals, the wheel begins spinning rapidly. Ye Zhongming calculates that this single spin consumes 360 level-own magic crystals. Everyone in the room stares at the wheel, waiting anxiously for the reward to appear. After slowing down, the pointer finally lands on a slot containing a job scroll. No doubt about it, this is an extremely rare job scroll. Ye Zhongming picks it up and is slightly surprised by the name Light Apostle. Even with his experience, this profession is completely unfamiliar. After reading the details, his expression turns excited. It is a formal class combining healing abilities with light energy, specializing in defense, protection, and team support. He shows the scroll to everyone. In his judgment, this is a highly versatile class with healing, shielding, and combat support, all in one, something almost anyone would want. Xiao Hu immediately grabs the scroll and, together with Mo Ye and Suo Yin, reads it carefully and becomes excited. Ye Zhongming notes that only those without a class can inherit it, and once chosen, it cannot be changed or combined with others. Smiling faintly, he raises the scroll and asks who wants it. Xiao Hu reacts first and raises his hand eagerly to volunteer. Mo Ye and Suo Yin both look at him with teasing expressions, making Xiao Hu quickly pull his hand back in embarrassment. Xiao Hu realizes he reacted on impulse. He has only followed Ye Zhongming for a short time and is not yet an awakened evolver, so taking such a valuable class would be a waste. Ye Zhongming then turns to Mo Yi and asks if she already has multiple classes. Mo Yi immediately refuses. She does not want to be locked into a single path. In her mind, she aims for strength like Ye Zhongming, building power through multiple systems working together. After refusing, Mo Ye looks toward Suo Yin, who also notices her gaze. Suo Yin smiles helplessly and shakes her head. A healing-focused class does not match her direct and combat-oriented personality. Everyone then turns to Tuan. She panics slightly under all the attention and asks why they are looking at her. Suo Yin laughs and taps her forehead, saying that while she avoids fighting, this support-oriented class suits her perfectly, especially with her clean and gentle nature. Tuan lowers her head and thinks for a long moment before deciding. In the end, she quietly says she will accept the class. Ye Zhongming looks at her seriously and reminds her that accepting this scroll comes with responsibility toward both herself and the team. He then hands the scroll to her. Suo Yin smiles teasingly and says that the girl who once acted so fierce now seems surprisingly trustworthy, at least enough for everyone to rely on Ye Zhongming's judgment. The moment Tuan touches the scroll, it dissolves into light and floods into her body as a red energy stream. A blue glow spreads across her body as she closes her eyes and absorbs the inheritance. Soon after, she opens her eyes, and her entire aura feels completely different. She raises her hand toward Ye Zhongming and softly activates her skill, Sweet Dew Technique. A gentle energy envelops Ye Zhongming. His wounds close rapidly, and even the bandages fall away as his body fully recovers. Ye Zhongming immediately asks how many times she can use it. Tuan confidently answers that she can cast it 89 times right now. That number shocks him. Either her mental energy is extremely high, or the skill cost is incredibly low. This class is truly unusual. Tuan then excitedly says she has received another skill as well, surprising everyone since she just completed her class change. She explains that her current rank is Light Apostle. Later evolutions include Light Envoy, Light Saint Envoy, Light Holy Maiden, Light Divine Envoy, and finally Light Goddess. Hearing the full progression system, Ye Zhongming frowns in shock. This class is far stronger than he expected. Tuan smiles and activates her new skill. A blue light shield appears as she chants, Light Wolf Shield. While putting on his clothes, Ye Zhongming carefully studies it and asks whether the shield can only protect the user. Tuan explains that Light Wolf Shield can automatically detect the direction of incoming attacks and move to block them. She can also deploy it on any teammate she chooses. Mo Ye is shocked by this ability. Suo Yin smiles in excitement and tries to touch the shield to feel it. Ye Zhongming turns his attention back to the magic wheel, full of anticipation since 2 mystery rewards, black and gold, are still unopened. He believes that as the light class continues to evolve, Tuan's defensive power will only grow stronger, even imagining her reaching light goddess level in the future. The 3 captives are tightly restrained, forced to watch everything helplessly. The scarfist man grits his teeth in bitterness, realizing they failed to kill even a level 2 mutant zombie together, while Ye Zhongming alone killed 4. The wheel in front of Ye Zhongming begins spinning rapidly once again. A few seconds later, the pointer slowly stops on a reward slot. Ye Zhongming picks up the newly appeared scroll and reads its name. It is the Wind Dancer class. He glances at it briefly and hands it to Suo Yin to open. Suo Yin is instantly shocked after seeing the contents, realizing it is the Wind Dancer inheritance. According to the description, this is a combat class that uses ribbons, scarves, ropes, and similar tools as weapons. Only females can inherit it, and a strong dance foundation is required to fully unleash its power. After the class change, the first skill called Shadow 4 Direction Dance Spin allows the user to leap into the air and unleash continuous rapid attacks. Seeing Suo Yin still frozen, Mo Ye smiles and jokes that she cannot dance at all, so this class is not for her. Tuan also laughs and says Suo Yin already uses ribbon weapons, so this class feels like it was made for her. After hearing everyone's encouragement, Suo Yin tightly grips the scroll and accepts the inheritance. Xiao Hu excitedly urges Ye Zhongming to spin the wheel again, but he remains silent in thought. After a moment, Ye Zhongming says all magic crystals have been used up, and they would need at least a day or more to gather enough again. Hearing this decision, Xiao Hu asks in confusion if they are really giving up this opportunity. Mo Yi immediately taps him on the head, telling him to stop making noise. Xiao Hu rubs his head in frustration, while Xia Lei shrugs helplessly beside him. Ye Zhongming orders everyone to quickly pack up and prepare to move out, and Tu An responds immediately. As Ye Zhongming approaches, the captive panics and begs for mercy, saying he has a secret to trade. Ye Zhongming stops and looks at him coldly. The scarfist man quickly assures him that what he is about to say is true, revealing that someone nearby holds a job certificate suitable for a blade user like Ye Zhongming. Ye Zhongming looks down at him, signaling him to continue. The scarfist man explains that 2 blocks away there is a small supermarket called Ying Ying Supermarket. Inside, 6 or 7 people are holding a job certificate, but have not decided who should use it, planning instead to trade it for evolution medicine or valuable supplies. Soon after, the sky begins to brighten as the first rays of dawn appear. At the base of the building, the group gathers together. Suo Yin smiles and greets Ye Zhongming before setting off. Ye Zhongming takes the bag from her and tells everyone they must both hunt magic crystals and train to adapt to their new classes. Xiao Hu laughs and praises Ye Zhongming for being generous, since he did not even take the magic crystals from the 3 captives. Ye Zhongming calmly explains that it was only a warning. The black slot on the multicolor wheel represents the death slot. He adds that if the pointer lands there, everything ends instantly, even for a level 9 star evolver. The atmosphere in the group immediately turns heavy. Mo Yi hesitantly asks what he plans to do with the 3 captives. At that moment, a violent explosion suddenly erupts behind them, with flames lighting up the area. Ye Zhongming calmly looks at their reactions and says this is the last time he will consider their feelings. From now on, he will no longer waste hundreds of magic crystals on such matters, and will handle things directly. Xia Lei hesitates and raises her gun, trying to speak, but Ye Zhongming cuts her off, already knowing she wants to mention the promise of sparing the 3 captives. He calmly asks back, "They surrendered only because we are stronger. If the situation was reversed, would she really believe they would show us mercy?" With both hands in his pockets, Ye Zhongming walks slowly, while bringing up the Lakeside Square incident. When he was unconscious, that group had no hesitation in hunting them down. In his view, Xia Lei only sees their actions as cruel, because she has never paid the price of being soft. Hearing this, Xia Lei's expression becomes increasingly tense. Ye Zhongming pulls up his collar to cover his nose, and stands beside the corpse already turning purple. He says, only when mercy pushes her into the abyss will she understand the cost of compassion. By then, her ending will be no different from the dead girl in front of her. Looking at the motionless corpse on the ground, the entire group falls into a heavy silence. Everyone stays quiet with dark expressions, while Tu An covers her mouth in shock. Ye Zhongming calmly adds that this is the law of the current world. Only the dead are allowed to grieve. Survival requires abandoning useless sympathy. His cold voice continues through the silence. He believes those 3 survivors will hold a grudge, so he will never allow anyone with lingering hatred to stay alive. The scene shifts to an apartment in a residential complex. A fat man sits on the edge of the bed, gripping a bottle of water tightly. Behind him, a woman stands silently watching as he drinks it all in large gulps. Only after finishing does the man notice she is still there. He tosses her the remaining bottle with a mocking smile, saying the rest is hers. The woman quickly grabs it and drinks every last drop while the man casually puts on his jacket. Suddenly, urgent knocking comes from outside. Someone reports a new group has appeared, and they seem difficult to deal with, also aiming for the wheel. The man opens the door slightly and asks how many people there are. A bespectacled man immediately answers, 6 in total, 4 women and 2 men, all armed with guns. After hearing this, the man lowers his head in thought and concludes they are a strong team. He immediately orders all his people to gather on the other side. The bespectacled man nods and calls everyone to assemble, while the leader urges them to move quickly. As he opens the next room's door, the bespectacled man says he will go immediately. Seeing the woman curled up under a blanket, he cannot hide a sinister smile. He raises the water bottle in front of her and tells her to take it. He then forces her to obey. The woman closes her eyes, forces a submissive smile, and slowly lets go of the blanket covering her body. At the same time, downstairs in front of the building, 2 groups stand face to face in a tense standoff. Xiao Hu whispers to Ye Zhongming that the captives were not lying, since there really is a wheel here. A man in white raises his gun and asks if Ye Zhongming intends to spin the wheel, also questioning whether he understands the rules. Ye Zhongming calmly confirms that each spin costs 1 magic crystal. He then throws a bag of golden crystals in front of the man and demands 10 consecutive spins. The man catches the bag quickly and signals his subordinates to operate the wheel. Ye Zhongming smiles at Xiao Hu and tells him he always boasts about his luck, so this time he should test it himself. Xiao Hu eagerly agrees, full of confidence. The man turns to the bespectacled subordinate and orders him to carefully watch every development. He immediately nods in obedience. Standing in front of the wheel, Xiao Hu cannot hide his excitement, a grin spreading across his face. He boasts to Ye Zhongming that his luck is extremely strong, having already drawn 4 evolution potions, so he deserves a share no matter what. At that moment, the man suddenly rushes forward, pointing his gun at the group. His men also raise their weapons, shocking Xiao Hu. He loudly threatens them to hand over all evolution potions, or they will all die here. Contrary to their aggression, Ye Zhongming remains calm. He closes his eyes and says everything is already within his expectations, treating them as training targets for the group. As soon as he finishes speaking, he orders the attack. Suo Yin, Mo Ye, and Xia Lei all charge forward simultaneously. Seeing their overwhelming momentum, the enemy group immediately turns pale in fear. In an instant, the quiet atmosphere is shattered by continuous screams of pain. Before long, all enemies are lying scattered on the ground, at the group's feet. Ye Zhongming does not linger, and immediately urges everyone to move. Their next target is the supermarket to trade evolution potions for job certificates. Xia Lei worries and asks what they should do if the other side tries to force unfair terms. Ye Zhongming simply smiles and replies that if they refuse to cooperate, then they will just use strength to force the deal through. The scene quickly shifts inside the supermarket. Xiao Hu looks at Ye Zhongming and asks what the next step is. Ye Zhongming calmly assigns tasks. Since Xiao Hu has just taken an evolution potion, he should go with Mo Yi to clear nearby zombies and adapt to his new power. As for himself, he will scout the entire street alone to gather intelligence. Everyone immediately objects, saying going alone is too dangerous. Ye Zhongming explains that since the other group needs evolution potions, most of them are not evolvers yet, so they pose little threat. Besides, moving alone gives him more flexibility and a better chance to retreat if needed. Suo Yin gently strokes Di Huang's head and suggests letting it accompany him for support. After thinking for a moment, Ye Zhongming agrees. Soon after, the scene shifts to another deserted street corner. Ye Zhongming and Di Huang quickly cross a fence and enter the area ahead. Above them, a black cat has already spotted their movements and immediately runs into a building. Ye Zhongming presses his ear against the wall, listening carefully and realizing there are faint voices inside the supermarket. Suddenly, a sense of danger makes him turn back instantly. He retreats quickly, letting Di Huang take the lead. The mutated dog bursts forward like lightning, lunging at the black cat. However, the cat is extremely agile and easily dodges the attack. Ye Zhongming grits his teeth. This cat is just as troublesome as before. 2 familiar figures then appear, making him pause. Seeing Yu Po again, he feels annoyed, realizing she is still relentlessly following him. He confirms that the figure in front is Yu Po, accompanied by a twisted bone demon as support. He coldly remarks that she even brought reinforcements this time. Clenching his arm, Ye Zhongming locks eyes with her and releases killing intent, stating that as a spirit-type mutated zombie, she is already dangerous enough. If she understands the consequences of opposing him, then death is the only outcome. As soon as he finishes speaking, both sides explode into motion and charge into battle. Yu Po clenches her fist, her expression cold and completely unmoved. On the other side, Ye Zhongming unleashes full power, charging forward without hesitation. At that moment, the bone demon behind Yu Po also accelerates, coordinating its attack. Its eyes flash with laser-like light, and its sharp teeth make it even more terrifying. Seeing the dangerous beam suddenly fire toward him, Ye Zhongming slightly changes expression. Without hesitation, he prepares to counterattack mid-motion. Leaping into the air, he analyzes the situation. Although called a bone demon, it is still just an evolved mutant zombie, likely only using a bone-eye beam ability. In an instant, Ye Zhongming swings his sword down toward its head, aiming to split it in half. The creature raises its arms to block on instinct. It even tries to grab the blade, but it is too slow. Ye Zhongming presses down on its head and roars, "Finish it." Even while suppressing it, he remains alert to Yu Po behind him. He immediately changes the direction of his blade, aiming at her. Yu Po opens her mouth and unleashes multiple purple light rings. Ye Zhongming recognizes it as the spirit-piercing thorn's ability and feels a rare sense of shock at its abnormality. Without letting the attack land, he kicks fiercely, sending both Yu Po and the bone demon flying apart. With small cuts on his face, he wipes his cheek and analyzes the attack. The spirit-based strike is extremely dangerous, capable of directly damaging a target's consciousness. What confuses him is that Yu Po was only level 2, yet already possessed 2 abilities, spiritual seed and energy exchange, and now even a third. Seeing Yu Po retreat while holding the black cat, Ye Zhongming immediately realizes her intention to escape and becomes anxious. Ye Zhongming jumps up and shouts for pursuit, but the bone demon keeps rushing in to block his path. Without hesitation, he swings his sword and cuts the bone demon in half, annoyed that the obstacle is finally gone. Now he has only one thought: chase Yu Po to the end. If she is not eliminated completely, she will become a future threat. While rushing forward, he suddenly stops. He decides to collect the spoils first, then quickly assess the situation before leaving. Suddenly, a hoarse voice comes from a nearby apartment, asking if they really have to abandon this place. Ye Zhongming forces himself to stay calm. His goal is still the trade for the job certificate, since increasing strength is the priority. He presses himself against the door gap and quietly observes inside the apartment. Then he taps the window lightly and calls out to the people inside. He calmly explains he is here for a trade and carries evolution potions. He bends down and gently pats Di Huang on the head. He tells it to return and regroup with the others first while he finishes the deal. As he watches Di Huang leave, a cautious voice suddenly asks where he got this information. Ye Zhongming calmly replies that he was guided by Brother Dang. The man keeps questioning him about whether he is alone and if there are zombies outside. Ye Zhongming confirms he is alone and that the area has already been cleared. After hearing this, the man slowly opens the iron door and tells him to enter slowly with his hands raised. Ye Zhongming calmly steps inside the apartment, facing a man holding a bow in a highly alert stance. He quickly assesses the man's appearance and behavior. Besides the bow user, 2 other people are hiding in the corners of the room, silently observing. The man directly asks about the evolution potion Ye Zhongming mentioned. Ye Zhongming takes out a small vial and says he has more. However, he first wants to inspect their item. The 3 exchange looks and agree. The long-haired man then takes out a job certificate and shows it to Ye Zhongming. With just a glance, Ye Zhongming confirms it is exactly what he needs. Carrying his bag forward, he asks how they want to trade, but as he steps closer, he is immediately ordered to stop. The man demands 6 evolution potions in exchange for the certificate. Ye Zhongming refuses. After repeated bargaining, the price drops from 6 to 5, then 3, while the other side insists on at least 4 or the deal is off. Ye Zhongming thinks carefully. In the early apocalypse, every evolution potion is extremely valuable, requiring massive effort and risk to obtain. He notices the man's slightly trembling hand and realizes they are also extremely nervous. Evolution potions are the key to becoming an evolver, while the certificate is useless without strength. Adjusting his bag, Ye Zhongming calmly analyzes that 3 bottles is already a very fair price given the current situation. The man remains firm, gripping his bow and saying, the deal will be cancelled if he refuses to raise the price. The person beside him whispers that 3 bottles is already the best offer they've had in days. The man sighs, showing he understands that too. Ye Zhongming then interrupts and directly asks why they insist on 4 evolution potions. The man slowly lowers his bow, his voice heavy, explaining that 2 people in their group are seriously ill and may not survive without becoming evolvers. Hearing this, Ye Zhongming immediately understands. Evolution potions not only enhance the body, but can also treat diseases and offer hope for terminal conditions. Thinking this, he reaches into his bag and says he has something else for them to see. If the reason is truly medical treatment, the deal can still benefit both sides. He takes out a strange egg and explains it is a loot item from a level 2 mutated creature. He had 2, used one for testing. It cannot awaken ordinary people like evolution potions, but it can nourish and heal the body repeatedly with decent effects. Upon hearing Ye Zhongming explain the item's effect, all 3 of them freeze in shock, unable to hide their disbelief. The man immediately asks whether the egg works on everyone, including evolvers. Ye Zhongming calmly confirms it does, since he tested it himself. Ye Zhongming then declares this is the final offer. If they refuse, the deal ends here. After thinking for a while, the man finally gives in and agrees to complete the trade. By the time everything is settled, night has already fallen, and the sky is filled with stars. Before leaving, Ye Zhongming warns them that this area will soon become unsafe and advises them to relocate quickly. The man nods in response. After thanking them, Ye Zhongming asks about the origin of the job certificate. In his judgment, they should not have been able to obtain such a valuable item on their own. The man recalls that they once accidentally encountered 2 terrifying monsters, locked in a life and death battle. They picked up the certificate inside the lair of one of those monsters. Having obtained the information, Ye Zhongming immediately leaves at high speed, not forgetting to thank them before disappearing. On the way, he examines the certificate and feels satisfied. It is the rare class Radiant Seal Blade Master. He grips the certificate tightly as light merges into his palm, thinking that even his crafting glory subclass is already powerful, so this main class must be even stronger. A blinding light soon appears before him. Holding his sword firmly, Ye Zhongming decides to test the strength of this new class himself. He channels energy, igniting flames at his fingertips. Strange runes appear above the flames, revealing the method to activate the new power. He draws his longsword, and the flames intensify instantly. A multicolored glow quickly envelops the entire blade. Without hesitation, he unleashes a technique called Seal Wind Flame Blade. The result is overwhelming power, producing a deafening explosion. Flames surge violently, spreading intense heat across the area. Witnessing this, Ye Zhongming is shocked. A single strike is already nearly half the power of his full-force attack from his previous life. He silently studies the result. In his past life, he reached 6-star level as a blade user, yet now at only on-star evolution, he already has such power. In his analysis, Radiant Seal Blade Master is a complete fusion of two professions, Seal Mage and Blade Master. Seal Mages use spiritual power to create seals that trigger various abilities, while Blade Masters focus entirely on sword combat. After inheriting the class, Ye Zhongming quickly understands its system. The first branch is Seal Art, with his current skill called Infusion, allowing his blade to carry fire attributes. The second branch is Blade Art. He currently has only one skill, called Ravaging Sea Break, which consumes too much energy for him to use earlier. Sheathing his sword, Ye Zhongming calculates that with his current energy, he can only perform about 2 strikes if he activates both Seal Art and Ravaging Sea Break. Moreover, higher quality weapons greatly enhance seal power. With his crafting profession supporting him, his potential is enormous. However, the priority is still to regroup with Suo Yin's team before developing Feng Qi Yu's strength. Ahead lies only rows of silent buildings, the dark night making everything feel even more oppressive. Suddenly, furious barking echoes through the mist. Ye Zhongming immediately thinks of Di Huang and worries his teammates may be in danger. Elsewhere, Mo Ye is caught in a brutal fight, constantly dodging deadly attacks from her opponent. Mo Ye, Pu Yingtu, and Xiaolei fight together, yet they are still overwhelmed by Wang Jing alone. Holding his sword, Wang Jing laughs in contempt, mocking Pu Yingtu for constantly healing and shielding Mo Ye, and claiming her blade is a treasure that will eventually belong to him, because she is too weak to wield it properly. Mo Ye stood in front, shielding Xiao Hu even in a losing situation while he was heavily injured. Seeing his teammate risk everything to protect him, Xiao Hu could only clench his teeth in rage, unable to stand and fight. Meanwhile, on another battlefield, Ye Tuanzhang and Liang Chuyin were locked in a fierce battle with their opponent, neither giving ground. Di Huang blocked in front of Wang Jing's subordinates, growling non-stop to keep them from approaching Xiao Hu. The entire group was now completely surrounded by Wang Jing's forces, and the situation turned extremely dangerous. With a furious roar, Wang Jing charged in like a storm, focusing all his attacks on Mo Ye. He closed in and unleashed a series of lethal sword strikes, not giving her any chance to counterattack. In an instant, Wang Jing's blade was already right in front of Mo Ye, as if the fight was about to end. At the critical moment, Pu Yingtu managed to raise a protective barrier, blocking the fatal strike. Wang Jing roared in anger. Unwilling to stop, he continued his relentless assault, while Pu Yingtu desperately maintained the Konglang shield behind Mo Ye. Gritting his teeth, Pu Yingtu calculated everything in his mind. He had used Ganlu technique to heal Mo Ye and Di Huang, and also formed multiple layers of shields for Mo Ye, Liang Chuyin, and Di Huang. His spiritual energy was nearly exhausted, and he could only hope Ye Zhongming would arrive soon. Seizing the moment of weakness, Wang Jing slashed Mo Ye's wrist before she could react. He laughed victoriously, rushing forward, convinced the treasured blade was already his. At that instant, a cold voice sounded behind him. "You are too early." Hearing it, Wang Jing quickly turned around. What he saw was a burning sea of fire filling the entire space. Ye Zhongming arrived engulfed in raging flames, overwhelming everything in his path. Wang Jing froze in shock as he unleashed the Yin Feng Yan Dao. Mo Yi was stunned by the sudden appearance. Even Ye Tuanzhang could not maintain his usual calm. Without another word, Ye Zhongming swung his blade straight at Wang Jing. With a single strike, Wang Jing's arm was severed. He fell to the ground, clutching his wound and screaming in agony. Ye Zhongming looked down calmly at the defeated enemy, while behind him everyone cheered and called his name. Wang Jing forced himself back up. Enduring intense pain, he turned and fled without daring to look back. On the other side, Ye Tuanzhang also immediately retreated, leaving his opponent behind and quickly issuing orders to his men. Seeing the enemies flee, Liang Chuyin looked on in frustration and shouted that they had escaped. But at that moment, Ye Zhongming clutched his head and staggered, urgently telling everyone to leave immediately. Liang Chuyin could only grit her teeth in anger, unable to pursue. Noticing Ye Zhongming's poor condition, Liang Chuyin rushed to support him and asked anxiously. Leaning on her, he explained that his technique had drained too much stamina. Mo Ye helped Xiao Hu up while quickly organizing everything. She told Gu Bei to take care of Di Huang, Xia Lei to assist Liang Chuyin, and ordered the group to retreat immediately under Ye Zhongming's instruction. The next morning, on the streets, waves of zombies continued wandering as usual. On the rooftop of a building, Ye Zhongming was still in his sleeping bag. Xia Lei was packing up, while Liang Chuyin and Pu Yingtu were preparing breakfast nearby. Not far away, Xiao Hu was sparring with Mo Ye. He excitedly showed off his moves, but Mo Ye just smiled and said she was not even using her full strength. At that moment, Ye Zhongming slowly woke up. He sat up and rubbed his head as a dull pain remained. Xiao Hu immediately called out happily upon seeing him wake up. Mo Ye also stopped training and looked over. Ye Zhongming smiled to reassure everyone, saying he was much better after a night's rest. However, he still felt regret. Using the flame blade twice in a row last night had drained too much energy, making it impossible to stop Wang Jing. Bringing over a bowl of hot food, Liang Chuyin smiled and called everyone to eat breakfast. The group quickly gathered to eat. Xiao Hu excitedly asked Ye Zhongming to let him use Feng Qi Yue, claiming he was now strong enough to stand beside Mo Ye. Hearing this, Mo Ye immediately rejected him and told him to stop dreaming. Ye Zhongming looked slightly confused and asked if it was just an ordinary blade. Xiao Hu immediately explained seriously. In his view, even Wang Jing, with overwhelming strength, had avoided Feng Qi Yu's blade and never dared to face it directly. That alone proved it was no ordinary weapon. Hearing this, Ye Zhongming calmly finished his meal, put down the bowl, and said that if that was the reason, he could just forge another one for Xiao Hu. After speaking, he immediately stood up under the shocked gazes of everyone. Ye Zhongming placed his hand on a piece of metal and secretly activated the crafting technique. In an instant, the energy inside the metal began to transform. Under his precise control, the iron rapidly reshaped itself according to his will. A brilliant green light suddenly burst out. Moments later, a sharp sword was completed. Ye Zhongming handed it to Xiao Hu and smiled, saying it was a personal gift for him. Holding the sword, Xiao Hu was so excited that he kept exclaiming in disbelief. Liang Chuyin looked at Ye Zhongming with admiration, while Pu Yingtu could not hide his curiosity and asked what kind of ability this was. Ye Zhongming crossed his arms confidently and introduced it as his secondary profession, a true artisan. He then scolded Xiao Hu for not valuing it, saying the forging cost alone was a level 2 mana crystal, not counting other materials. If he had not killed a level 2 zombie last night, there would be no such weapon today. Hearing this, the whole group immediately forced all dirty dishes into Xiao Hu's hands, and Liang Chuyin playfully told him to go wash them. While Ye Zhongming stood on the rooftop observing below, Mo Ye walked up behind him and asked what their next move would be, since they were still following the original route. Hearing Mo Ye's question, Ye Zhongming pointed in one direction and firmly said their next target was to find a specific person. Mo Ye quietly looked at him, suddenly recalling that in the future, this person would be revered by the world as Master Ya. Meanwhile, in another large building, only a few survivors remained inside, all trembling in fear, some even lying on the ground in despair. At that moment, a group of ruthless men stormed in and headed straight for the hiding survivors. The leader casually walked while eating a chicken leg, greeting them arrogantly and calling them elite technicians. The burly man was named Zhang Chun. Beside him were a woman and a thug holding a club. Seeing the silent room, he loudly questioned why no one was speaking. Sitting on the floor, Yue Gong glanced at Zhang Chun with contempt and disgust. Hugging the woman beside him, Zhang Chun laughed and announced a so-called good news. Food was running low, so some people would be chosen to go out and gather supplies. He tempted them by promising food and water, even if they found nothing, and extra rations for 3 days if they succeeded. Hearing this, 2 people beside Yue Gong immediately volunteered. Zhang Chun nodded and chose them both. At that moment, the thug leaned close and whispered something into Zhang Chun's ear. After hearing it, Jiang Chun smirked and pointed directly at Ye Gong, saying they were still short one person, and he had to go as well. Behind him, the thug revealed a sinister smile. Meanwhile, Ye Zhongming stood inside a heavily ruined room, filled with debris everywhere. Xiao Hu used his sword to poke at the zombie corpses on the ground, and asked Ye Zhongming if he was sure the person they were looking for had ever been here, since there were only dead zombies and no survivors. Ye Zhongming fell into deep thought, remembering clearly that in his previous life, there were rumors Master Yu had escaped from this place, so maybe he had chosen the wrong location this time. Suddenly, Liang Chuyin called everyone to the window in panic, pointing out that someone across the street was using living people as bait to attract zombies. Looking outside, the group witnessed a horrifying scene of a living person being torn apart by a swarm of zombies. Inside the opposite building, Jiang Chun's men were using clubs to force survivors out as bait while the remaining people begged and cried, mentioning that Lao Li had just been killed by zombies. Jiang Chun angrily struck the speaker with his club and shouted for him to shut up. He then ordered his men to drag another person out and force them to run as far as possible to lure the zombies, while a thug immediately drew his knife in response. Holding the knife, the thug violently drove the victim out, yelling at them to get lost and run faster. After finishing, Jiang Chun walked over to the people looting supplies in the supermarket and loudly demanded how much they had collected. A trembling man reported that the supermarket had been almost completely stripped, with barely any food left. Hearing this, Jiang Chun immediately slapped him hard and cursed him out. He was furious that after sacrificing 2 bait victims, they only got this much, calling them all useless. At that moment, a subordinate rushed in from outside and reported that most of the zombies had been lured away, with only about 5 to 6 still wandering nearby. Jiang Chun gritted his teeth in frustration. He originally planned to use this chance to hunt a few zombies for mana crystals, but the remaining number was still higher than expected. A sly subordinate pulled Ye Gong over and smirked, reminding him that they still had 1 bait left unused. Jiang Chun looked at Ye Gong and coldly said they would only cut him to draw blood, not damage his legs. All he had to do was run for his life. If he survived, he would get food. If he died, it was just bad luck. Hearing this, Ye Gong's face instantly turned pale, completely desperate. Before he could react, the thug slashed deep into his arm, making him scream in pain. Jiang Chun then roughly shoved him out the door, yelling at him to run as fast as he could. Holding his bleeding arm, Ye Gong ran desperately. Only pain and despair remained in his heart, unable to understand how his life had fallen into such misery. As death approached, old memories surfaced. He had once been a senior engineer with a high income, leading a research team, and living a happy family life with his young wife. But ever since the apocalypse began, zombies and countless mutated creatures appeared, and that peaceful life completely collapsed. From that day on, he was forced to kill his own kind to survive. From that moment, his heart seemed to die as well. Running in despair, Ye Gong realized that before death, humans truly see their entire life flash before their eyes. Just as he reached his limit and was about to collapse, he suddenly heard a shout activating the Gan Lu technique. As Ye Gong fell from exhaustion, Ye Zhongming appeared and caught him in time. He handed the man to his teammates and told Xiao Hu and Liang Chuyin to stay and handle the situation, while he took Ye Gong away from danger first. Barely saved, Ye Gong looked at the young man in shock and cautiously asked who he really was. Ye Zhongming smiled and called him Master Yue, saying there was no time to explain. He only needed to follow them, and everything would be explained once they were safe. Looking at the man in his arms, Ye Zhongming felt satisfied. He had finally found the person who would become the father of mana crystal weapon technology in the future. Memories from his previous life surfaced in Ye Zhongming's mind. He understood why humanity could still survive in an era filled with zombies, monsters, and countless mutated creatures. Powerful individuals existed through special occupations and skills, but they made up only a tiny fraction of humanity. In terms of equipment, things were no better. Rune-board weapons were extremely rare, artisan-made gear was limited, and treasures from dangerous zones were even scarcer. What truly allowed most humans to survive was the emergence of mana crystal weapons. Ye Zhongming looked at Yue Dawei. This man had created mana crystal weapons by using science and technology to extract energy from mana crystals, then channeling and releasing it through a transmission system to create massive destructive power. This achievement later became one of the key foundations for humanity's survival in the apocalypse. While Pu Yingtu carefully treated Yue Dawei's injuries, Mo Ye could not help but ask Ye Zhongming who this man really was. Not only Mo Ye, even Yue Dawei was confused. He looked at Ye Zhongming and asked why they would risk their lives to save someone useless like him. He lowered his head in shame, believing he could do nothing but drag others down, unable to kill zombies or even secure food. Ye Zhongming said nothing out loud, but inwardly he smiled. Yue Dawei might not kill many zombies now, but in the future, the monsters indirectly killed by his weapons would be countless. Calling him the Slaughter Demon King would not be an exaggeration. Ye Zhongming simply smiled and said he understood Yue Dawei very well. Those words made him freeze in shock. Adjusting his glasses, Yue Dawei apologetically said they had never met before. Ye Zhongming calmly explained that he had read reports from the factory, which mentioned Yue Dawei many times. Respecting researchers, he could not ignore him when he was in danger. After hearing this, Ye Dawei sighed, saying all his past glory belonged to the past, and now he was nothing more than a dying lamp. Ye Zhongming asked Mo Yi and the others to step outside, because he wanted a private conversation with Yue Dawei. Mo Yi, though confused, still nodded. The door closed with a heavy sound, leaving only the two of them inside the room. Ye Zhongming took out a small pastry and handed it to Yue Dawei, telling him to eat something first. He then brought out a bottle of red wine, saying he had heard technicians liked this kind of drink. He had picked it up by chance and hoped it would help him warm up. Whether from long hunger or from emotion, after a sip of wine, Yue Dawei's eyes turned red. Seeing the moment was right, Ye Zhongming took out a mana crystal and asked if he knew its true nature. Yue Dawei nodded slightly. Ye Zhongming continued his thoughts. He believed mana crystals contained massive energy, and if they could be extracted and converted into usable human power, the value would be enormous. He asked what Ye Dawei thought of this idea. Hearing this, Yue Dawei immediately reached out, asking to study the mana crystal himself. After carefully examining it, his eyes lit up more and more as he kept praising how fascinating the idea was. Ye Zhongming seized the opportunity and invited Yue Dawei to join his team. He promised to secure his living conditions and provide full support for his research on mana crystals. Holding the mana crystal tightly, Yue Dawei fell into thought. Doubt still remained, but his interest in the proposal kept growing. In the end, he said that if Ye Zhongming helped him complete one task, he would fully dedicate himself to following him from then on. At the same time, in another building nearby, Jiang Chun and his subordinates were gathered inside a room resting. Thinking back to the earlier encounter, Jiang Chun still could not understand why a strong group like Ye Zhongming would risk their lives to save someone he considered useless. At that moment, a subordinate brought a box of preserved fruit and tried to flatter Jiang Chun, offering it to replenish his strength. Taking the food, Jiang Chun glanced at the subordinate and suddenly remembered that this man had once stolen Yue Dawei's wife. Suddenly, the door was kicked open with a violent strike. The group panicked and jumped up, thinking zombies had broken in and shouting in chaos. Jiang Chun immediately went on alert and demanded to know who had just entered. The ones who walked in were none other than Ye Zhongming's group. Ye Zhongming turned and asked Yue Dawei if these were the people. With his hands still in his pockets, Ye Zhongming walked forward calmly, while Jiang Chun's group nervously asked what he intended to do. Without a word, Ye Zhongming rushed forward and grabbed the bald man by the collar. The man struggled in panic, screaming for him to let go. Despite his resistance, Ye Zhongming dragged him forward with brute force. He then casually threw him into the air like a discarded object. The body crashed heavily to the ground, right in front of Yue Dawei. Ye Zhongming coldly looked at Yue Dawei and said this man was now his to deal with, as he wished. Yue Dawei's eyes turned bloodshot with rage, all his suppressed resentment finally targeting the man at his feet. He bent down, picked up a large stone, and smashed it repeatedly onto the bald man's head, unleashing all his hatred. He struck without mercy until the man's head was covered in blood, with blood leaking from ears, eyes, and nose, leaving him barely alive. Witnessing this scene, Mo Ye's group fell silent, unsure how to react. Mo Ye quietly observed Ye Zhongming and concluded that he was not a conventional good person, but as long as no one touched his interests, he would not kill without reason. She then looked at Yue Gong, who was nearly out of control, wondering why Ye Zhongming treated this man so specially. Xiao Lei could no longer stand by and quickly grabbed Yue Gong's arm to stop him, saying that going too far would turn into a habit. Yue Gong's eyes burned with ferocity as he roared at her to let go. Ye Zhongming also spoke up, telling Xiao Lei not to interfere in unrelated matters, just as she was about to object, saying that if this continued, Xiao Hu suddenly ran in from outside and reported that they had found the target, and she was in the next room. Ye Zhongming stepped forward gently placing a hand on Ye Gong's shoulder, and calmly said they should go over together. Liang Chuyin pointed toward a closed door, confirming that the person was inside that room. With an ice-cold expression, Ye Zhongming told Ye Gong that some things could only be decided by himself, and urged him to go inside. Everyone stayed outside in silence, letting Ye Gong enter the room alone. Unable to hide his curiosity, Xiao Hu asked who that man was, and why he harbored such deep hatred. Ye Zhongming sighed and said that in chaotic times, the hatred of killing one's parents and the humiliation of having loved ones taken away was something no one with a conscience could ever forgive. Suddenly, a sharp scream came from inside the room, making Mo Yes group flinch. After a while, the door slowly opened and Ye Gong walked out unsteadily. The dagger in his hand was still clean, not a trace of blood. He bitterly admitted that he could not bring himself to kill her. Tears kept falling as Ye Gong choked out that she should be left to live or die by fate. Ye Zhongming immediately told Liang Chuyin to bring some food to the woman inside, and she quickly agreed and went in. He then gently patted Ye Gong's shoulder and told everyone it was time to leave. With heavy emotions, Ye Gong only quietly thanked him. Just as they were about to leave, a panicked voice suddenly called out from behind, begging Ye Gong to wait and take them along. It turned out to be the people who had been imprisoned with Ye Gong. They rushed over and desperately asked to follow him. Ye Gong asked Ye Zhongming for his opinion, saying the future research work would need assistance. Ye Zhongming agreed, but stated they could only take a maximum of 5 more people. He told Ye Gong to choose carefully, explaining that many important tasks still lay ahead, and 5 was already the absolute limit. Soon, night fell and covered the ruined city in darkness. Everyone returned to their rooftop shelter. Ye Gong's group sat around one table, while Ye Zhongming and his team gathered at another. Ye Zhongming pointed at the map, laid out in front of them, and spoke with Xiaolei. He said they were close to the final target of this trip, and once this area was cleared, they would set off to find her husband's whereabouts. Mo Ye curiously asked if it was a farm. Ye Zhongming confirmed it was a wild boar breeding eco-farm. Xiao Hu immediately swallowed his saliva, thinking their leader was craving pork after eating packaged biscuits every day. Hearing this, Ye Zhongming gave him a helpless glance, as he always only thought about food. He explained that the real goal of this mission was to collect level 2 mana crystals, not meat. Pu Tu excitedly said that Ye Zhongming had already defeated multiple level 2 evolved beings, and with their current strength, a coordinated attack could easily take down a mid-level, level 2 mutated creature. Ye Zhongming smiled lightly, but what he said made everyone feel a chill. The target was not a single level 2 mutated creature, but an entire herd of at least 50. Hearing this, the group felt as if they had been doused with ice water, their faces turning pale as they exclaimed in shock, "What?" In another place, a man dragged a lifeless corpse forward in silence. That man was Gu Fan. He cursed non-stop while drinking, his expression filled with irritation as if venting all his frustration into the air. Without stopping, he grabbed a body and threw it over the nearby fence. He continued throwing more down below, ordering the wild pigs rushing in to devour everything. The herd of pigs immediately surged forward, sniffing the thick smell of blood spreading through the area. They quickly tore into the prey in a frenzy, while Gufan watched coldly and urged them to eat more so they could evolve faster. In his eyes was a cruel calculation. Once the herd reached level 2, he would use them to hunt level 2 rune boards and officially step into the rank of a 2-star evolver. Dim light seeped through the old walls, making the scene even colder and more desolate. In that space, a disheveled bearded man sat alone, quietly drinking beer and lost in chaotic thoughts. That lonely figure was Gufan, a 1-star evolver. In the past, he had been an outstanding university student with a bright future, a promising career, and a happy family life. Everything collapsed when he was framed by colleagues and superiors, drowning him in debt, while his 6 parents eventually died in agony. At his lowest point, an old friend helped him open a wild boar farm as a way out. Unexpectedly, during that process, he revealed a rare talent for animal raising that far surpassed ordinary people. However, disaster struck again when his business partner suddenly broke the agreement, cutting off funding, causing the farm to fall into crisis and pushing him deeper into despair. At the moment he thought he had reached his absolute limit, a massive change occurred. All the wild boars in the farm mutated, becoming ferocious and bloodthirsty, yet strangely still obeying his commands without question. Back in reality, Gufan kept drinking beer as if trying to drown out the exhaustion and emptiness in his mind. Suddenly, he froze. A strong, abnormal feeling surged up, as if something in his connection with the boar herd was fading away. He immediately looked out the window. just in time to see another boar die. The continuous loss made him suspicious, wondering if he was mistaken, but the constant mental pain confirmed it was not an illusion. The death signals kept flooding in, making his mind feel like it was about to explode. He began to suspect the herd had encountered some high-level mutated force outside. Thinking of this, Gu Fan could no longer sit still and rushed outside to check the situation. He quickly blew a long whistle to summon all his forces. Instantly, the entire wild boar herd rushed in from all directions, kicking up clouds of dust. Gu Fan leapt onto the back of the leading boar, his eyes cold as he ordered the advance. The lead boar roared, and the entire herd immediately moved in formation, charging forward. The wild boar swarm surged like a tidal wave, rushing toward their target at extreme speed. In the nearby bushes, Xiao Hu reported through the communicator. Gu Fan had left, and only 7 boars remained in the farm, including 3 level 2 and 4 level 1. From a nearby abandoned building, Ye Zhongming's team occupied high ground and silently observed the entire farm below. Through a tactical scope, Mo Ye quickly summarized the situation. The enemy had left with the herd, and including scattered ones, plus the 7 remaining, there were a total of 74 boars. After double-checking, she reported again. 46 of them were level 2 mutated beasts, and 28 were level 1. Hearing this, Su Ying could not hide her tension and suggested retreating to rethink the plan. But Ye Zhongming only frowned briefly before maintaining his stance. He believed the greater the danger, the greater the reward, and there was no reason to back down. After speaking, he threw the communicator to Yue Gong and ordered him to hold this high position as the communication center due to its excellent visibility. At the same time, Xia Lei was assigned to protect Yue Gong, and she immediately accepted the task. Next, Ye Zhongming assigned Su Ying to coordinate with Liang Chuyin and Di Huang for combat support, and she accepted without hesitation. For Mo Yi, he ordered her to prioritize killing any level 1 mutated boars she encountered, while Xiao Hu prepared motorcycles for the second phase. Mo Yi immediately understood and moved out. Finally, he declared he would handle the remaining 7 boars in the farm himself, ordering everyone to prepare for battle. Before splitting up, Ye Zhongming reminded them once again that this was a life-and-death battle, and even a single mistake could cost them their lives. After speaking, he pulled his sword from the ground, his gaze turning ice-cold. Looking toward Gu Fan's farm, images of a boar king at the peak of 9-star evolution flashed in his mind, once commanding a terrifying mutated herd, with several beasts reaching level 8. He tightened his grip on the sword, remembering its fate. Despite its former dominance, it was ultimately killed by 2 9-star powerhouses joining forces. At that moment, a wild boar suddenly charged at him, but Ye Zhongming did not lose focus, still analyzing Gu Fan and the farm in his mind. As the beast closed in, he only took a half step back to adjust his stance. Immediately after, a decisive sword strike fell, killing the target in an instant. Retrieving the shining core from the corpse, he told himself he needed more resources to continue evolving, and this place was the perfect level 2 mana crystal farm. His expression grew heavier, because to achieve his goal, he might one day have to face and kill a 9-star powerhouse. He looked toward the approaching herd, fully aware that the upcoming battle would be extremely bloody with unavoidable casualties. Among them, 1 boar was still biting off a human arm, creating a horrifying scene. Even so, Ye Zhongming did not retreat. He smirked coldly, raised his sword, and prepared to wipe out the entire herd, treating them as monsters stained with innocent blood. In another direction, Mo Ye was already rushing deep into the forest, beginning her assigned mission. Behind her, the wild boar herd kept chasing relentlessly, kicking up thick clouds of dust. Mo Ye suddenly stopped without panic, turned around, and prepared to counterattack. Every shot she fired was perfectly accurate, taking down targets instantly. With each exchange, the boars behind her fell one after another, without any chance to fight back. In the end, only 1 boar remained, still charging forward in a crazed state. Mo Ye drew a sharp blade and cleanly finished it with a single strike. Looking at the fallen body, she quickly recalculated and confirmed the mission was complete with a total of 10 kills. Mo Ye sat down briefly to catch her breath, then immediately reported via communicator that the mission was complete and she would move to the next target soon. In another part of the battlefield, 2 wild boars were brutally tearing apart an unlucky victim on the ground. Their ferocious appearance alone was enough to make anyone feel disgusted and uneasy. Liang Chuyin remained calm and steadily walked forward without hesitation. Sensing someone approaching, 1 boar instantly went berserk and charged straight at her. Chuyin did not panic and immediately swung her weapon to counter. The strike hit its target, shaking the boar violently. However, instead of slowing down, the impact only made it more ferocious. It charged with full force, but Chu Yin quickly raised a shield to block. The impact shattered the shield into pieces. The boar collapsed unconscious after the collision. Chu Yin turned and calmly asked if she had come to provide support. Su Ying suddenly shouted in panic as a warning. It turned out the fallen boar had regained consciousness and was charging again in a frenzied state. Fortunately, Chu Yin reacted quickly, slamming her weapon into the ground to generate a rebound force. Using the recoil, she leapt into the air, dodging the charge completely while quickly drawing her gun. Without hesitation, Chu Yin pulled the trigger. The bullet pierced straight through the boar's head, finishing it cleanly. After the kill, she landed smoothly and decisively. Su Ying immediately reported via communicator that this area was cleared and they would move to the next point. At that moment, Xiao Hu appeared, breaking the silence of the area. Seeing Gu Fan and the herd charging in, Xiao Hu calmly said it was time for them to show up. Gu Fan immediately noticed someone ahead and frowned, shouting, asking who they were. Xiao Hu raised a finger provocatively and casually replied that if he wanted to know, he should come and find out himself. Provoked, Gu Fan became even more furious and roared orders to pursue. As he chased, he gritted his teeth in anger, repeatedly wondering who they were and what their purpose was. Xiao Hu rode his motorcycle while reporting via communicator that his task was complete and he was moving to the next point. In another area, wild boar corpses were scattered all around Ye Zhongming's position. He calmly reported via communicator that his side had finished and was ready to move to the next location. A clear killing intent appeared in Ye Zhongming's eyes as he prepared to face the Boar King, Gu Fan, in another ruined building. Liang Chuyin suddenly exclaimed in shock at the situation unfolding. She then could not hide her excitement, admitting Ye Zhongming's clearing speed was terrifying, wiping out multiple targets in just minutes. Su Ying immediately refuted her, saying it was not that he was too strong, but that she was overly impressed. Chu Yin instantly blushed at being exposed. Retaliating, Chu Yin brought up how Su Ying had also once only cared about being saved by Ye Zhongming. Su Ying quickly explained it was just an emergency situation and had no other meaning. The two continued arguing back and forth, neither willing to back down, leaving Mo Ye watching helplessly. Suddenly, Mo Xie's expression turned serious as she warned that something was wrong. Below them, a massive wild boar herd, led by Gu Fan, was advancing straight toward their position. Everyone immediately switched into combat mode, fully focusing their attention. In the tense moment, Chu Yin muttered that dying here would be a huge loss, since she had never even experienced a proper relationship. Su Ying immediately shouted at her to shut up. Gu Fan looked at the casualties in his herd, boiling with anger. More than 20 boars had already been killed out of a total of 74, nearly on a third of his force lost. He scanned the surroundings, searching for the controller of the attack, and swore that if he caught the motorcycle rider, he would crush him to ashes. Just as tension peaked, a strange movement caught his attention. A bullet suddenly cut through the air, forcing a boar to jump in front, to block it before it could reach the target behind. Gu Fan immediately became highly alert, realizing there was an ambush in play. The next waves of bullets rained down, and boars were pierced and dropped one after another. Tracing the direction of the fire, he quickly pinpointed the position from a window of an abandoned building and roared for the entire herd to charge in. The enraged boar swarm surged forward like a storm, but ahead of them was an ambush formation, already prepared by Liang Chuyin. Chu Yin leapt down from her hidden position, a confident smile on her face, briefly thinking that if she survived this, she would definitely make this fight worth it. Before even landing, she spun her weapon and unleashed a wide-area attack, releasing a terrifying surge of energy. The strike slammed into the herd below, causing heavy losses and knocking many boars out of formation. Upon landing, she immediately sent out a coordination signal. From the opposite window, Mo Yi responded instantly with suppressing fire, signaling she was ready to provide cover. Chu Yin immediately turned and retreated inward, understanding it was better to let the ranged firepower control the battlefield while she repositioned. She quickly used wall footholds to pull herself upward, escaping the pursuit below. While moving, she hooked her weapon onto a protruding metal structure to stabilize herself. Using that leverage, she launched herself upward, completely avoiding the sweeping charge below. However, being suspended mid-air was extremely dangerous, as a single mistake would send her falling instantly. Mo Yi immediately moved to assist, shouting for her to grab a safer position. With timely coordination, Chu Yin finally climbed safely into the building. Once inside, she collapsed from exhaustion, saying her mental energy was nearly depleted. Su Ying quickly checked her and confirmed she was injured. Su Ying immediately assisted with treatment, while Mo Ye analyzed the situation, stating that survival depended on using the remaining beasts to maintain the battlefield advantage and complete the mission. Suddenly, the main door was kicked open and Gu Fan appeared, roaring at them and asking where they thought they were going. He blocked the exit completely, killing intent surging, as he declared no one would escape. Gu Fan clenched his fists, his face twisted with murderous rage, stating he would capture them alive, interrogate them, and then feed them to the boars. At that moment, Ye Zhongming suddenly appeared behind him, coldly asking a provocative question. Chu Yin immediately sighed in relief and called out his name. Su Ying also reacted, while Gu Fan turned around in shock, asking who he was. Before he could respond, Ye Zhongming delivered a powerful kick that sent him flying forward. Behind him was a raging sea of fire, its glow reflecting on Ye Zhongming's ice-cold expression. Around them, the corpses of wild boars were gradually being burned into blackened ruins. Xiao Hu walked while counting the bodies, muttering 70, 71, 72. After finishing the count, he reported that 72 boar corpses had been found, with 2 still unaccounted for. Ye Zhongming calmly replied that in a chaotic battlefield, it was impossible to control everything, and eliminating most of them was already a good result. After speaking, he turned and left, leaving the cleanup to the others. Xiao Hu then asked what to do with the corpses next. Ye Zhongming began explaining that certain parts like organs and meat from mutated boars were extremely valuable resources and could not be wasted. He glanced at Xiao Hu and reminded him that he had always been the one most eager to eat mutated boar meat. Hearing food mentioned, Xiao Hu immediately became excited, eyes lighting up at the thought of fresh resources everywhere. But Mo Ye quickly stopped him and told him to go pick up Yue Gong on a motorcycle first. At the same time, Mo Ye assigned tasks. Some people gathered salt and firewood, while others processed the meat for storage and cooking. Ye Zhongming tiredly turned away, leaving the rest to his team and saying he needed to rest. Everyone immediately agreed. Soon after, Xiao Hu and Yue Gong rode off on a motorcycle, disappearing into the dusty road. In another area, Su Ying and Chu Yin worked together to start a fire and hang boar meat for grilling. The others were equally busy, sorting and processing parts from the mutated herd. Yue Gong carefully marinated the meat and handed it to Chu Yin to be grilled. In a quiet moment, Ye Zhongming ate wild boar meat while reflecting. He concluded that his combined abilities were extremely powerful, but the mental energy consumption was also extremely heavy. Ye Zhongming determined that mutated pork was a good energy source, not very effective for him, but useful for improving the physical condition of people like Suo Yin. He then looked at the spoils, smiling faintly as he counted over 40 level 2 magic crystals, enough to continue his evolution plan and search for another level 2 wheel platform. At that moment, the small dog finished eating and looked up at him with unusually intelligent eyes. Ye Zhongming immediately noticed something strange. The crystal on its forehead was fading, and energy was fluctuating heavily, a clear sign of another evolution starting. Seeing it fall asleep, he chose not to interfere and let the evolution proceed naturally and stabilize. Suddenly, a loud shout came from outside, demanding identification and instantly tightening the atmosphere. Mo Yi immediately drew his weapon, aiming at the newcomers in caution. Ye Zhongming stepped out to check and quickly confirmed they were not evolvers, just ordinary humans. A man introduced himself as Jia Min, accompanied by Da Ming, both from the new base. Hearing about the new base, Suo Yin was shocked. She grew worried, suspecting it might be a government-run settlement and possibly linked to the person she was searching for. In contrast, Mo Ye stayed calm and demanded verification before drawing conclusions to avoid unnecessary risk. Suo Yin tried to hold back her emotions and asked more details. Jia Min explained the new base was built by an artillery battalion and local authorities, gathering survivors from government units, military forces, and nearby residential areas. Upon hearing a familiar name, Suo Yin immediately felt hope and urgently asked whether they knew someone named Tan Yu, working in the new government office. Jia Min and Da Ming looked at each other and shook their heads, saying they had never heard of that name. Suo Yin was instantly disappointed. At that moment, Ye Zhongming changed the topic and asked if they had just come from the shooting range area. Jia Min explained the situation frankly. The new base had just been established. Resources were scarce, and survival depended on trading crystals from zombies and mutated beasts for food and weapons. Otherwise, they had to go out scavenging. Xiao Hu remained cautious and questioned their true purpose. Jia Min guessed Ye Zhongming's group was also heading to the new base and offered to lead the way. He added that he knew the routes well and could help them avoid danger and scams from other groups. However, Xiao Hu coldly refused, saying they did not need a guide and could handle everything themselves. Da Ming quickly explained that the outside area was extremely dangerous, with zombies and mutated creatures surrounding the base, main routes blocked, leaving only underground sewer tunnels for entry and exit. Noticing something off, Ye Zhongming immediately asked them to clarify the base's access system. Jia Min no longer hid it, and admitted that entering and leaving the base required traveling through an underground sewer network. The routes were like a maze, and newcomers often got lost, which was why they wanted to trade guidance for food. As he spoke, his eyes never left the roasting meat, his hunger obvious and impossible to hide. After considering, Ye Zhongming agreed to give each of them 2 portions of meat in exchange for helping process the remaining meat before guiding them to the base. Hearing this, Da Ming thanked him repeatedly in excitement, while Jia Min's also sighed in relief, saying he had no choice but to survive this way, while his family was still waiting behind him. Ye Zhongming quickly ordered the work divided, splitting the meat into 2 parts, one stored on site and the other taken along. Mo Ye sent Xiao Hu to scout the surrounding farm area to ensure no hidden threats remained. Xiao Hu immediately left on command. At that moment, a strange noise came from the room where the small dog was. Only Ye Zhongming noticed something was wrong. He rushed inside, guessing the evolution should normally take hours or even days, but this time something abnormal was happening in less than 10 minutes. Upon entering, he saw the dog's body weakening, with all its fur completely shed. Suo Yin panicked and asked what was happening. Ye Zhongming reassured her that it was still evolving, just more intense than usual. Xiao Hu suddenly shouted that new golden fur had begun growing on its body. In just a moment, golden fur like sunlight spread across the dog's entire body. Its eyes turned emerald green, glowing with intense intelligence and life. Its entire body fully transformed, officially completing its evolution into a level 2 mutated life form. Immediately after, it suddenly leapt straight at Ye Zhongming. The impact knocked him to the ground, and it kept licking his face excitedly, making everyone around burst into laughter. Mo Ye looked at the newly formed golden fur on Da Huang and commented that the color was too flashy. Suo Yin also teased that after evolution it really looked like a golden boy. Ye Zhongming wiped off the saliva and ordered everyone back to work, continuing to process the pork to avoid wasting time. He also scolded the dog lightly to stop messing around and follow formation. But Da Huang ignored him completely, running around excitedly and circling Suo Yin while barking non-stop. Later, Ye Zhongming seriously asked if it had awakened any new ability after evolution. The dog just tilted its head and barked, showing no understanding. That made him slightly suspicious, wondering if this evolution truly came without a new skill. Just as that thought ended, 2 powerful energy bursts suddenly shot out from its body, shocking everyone. Luckily, Ye Zhongming dodged in time. The 2 attacks flew past and slammed into the wall behind, shattering a large section of bricks. Observing the damage, Ye Zhongming analyzed again. He remembered Da Huang's previous skill was a Wideria spike attack with low damage, mainly effective against feathered or fur-type beasts. Moving closer, he checked the energy spikes embedded deep in concrete and confirmed its control had clearly improved. It could now adjust both number and intensity, upgrading its old skill into a far stronger variant. The perspective shifted to a panoramic view of the ruined city. On a tall rooftop, a man stood silently, using binoculars to observe the area below. His focus was on the group led by Tu An and Suo Yin, who were handling meat and cooking tasks.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.